Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network Podcast. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area, we get in the basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is going to be, what can Bethesda learn from Skyrim 10 years later, folks? That is our discussion today. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. As always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Hail to thee.
Hail to thee. All right, that's it.
That's it. That's all.
And our guest in the middle, returning. It's been a while. Ghost of Tsushima, like 2 years ago. We did the hot take. Check that out.
That's the last time.
Duh.
Yeah. Philadelphia's own Fred Hassel.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thanks
Well,
for
it's
being
funny.
back.
I was trying to
course.
remember like a piece. I'm like, has Fred been on here before? Was I on? I was on the Ghosts.
Yeah, it was me,
thing too,
you,
yeah.
Great
Fred,
game.
and Penza.
That's right.
I wish we were
Okay.
talking about that.
I couldn't remember. Ghost of Tsushima. We'll probably get a sequel to that at some point.
Of course.
But yeah, we're here to discuss the big one, Mr. Skyrim Jr. himself.
But before we jump into that, we usually like to talk about what's going on, what we're doing, playing, watching, whatever we want to, talk about on this segment of the show. Fred, you're the guest. I'll give you the honors. What's been up, man?
Thanks. Honestly, not much. It's been very dry to me, gaming-wise.
I mean, no, that's a fact.
Well, I always like to say for me, just because I usually go for my backlog in times like these, but I've been playing the Oddworld series, Deus Ex. Deus Ex is a little too scary because now you're essentially living it. For TV shows, I watched Saul all the way through with the family. That was
Better Call Saul,
Yeah, Better
dude.
Call Saul was probably the best show.
I was debating whether I wanted to get someone to review. I didn't even know you were watching.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh my god, what a fucking TV show, man! What a finish!
I called
I need
the
to
end.
finish it.
And that's not a lot of show people talk about. You know,
Nah, people loved it.
No. I don't mean that as a negative thing, but it's not like I don't think people are talking about it like people are talking about House of Dragons right now, or
would
other
agree with
shows that are usually coming on. It's a much more underground. If you watch it, you're cool, and if you don't,
I didn't
fuck
realize
you.
this. Well, of course, but Breaking Bad is 15 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a very long-standing series
Well,
now.
when it
with-
started, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 2008, 2009.
So, I mean, it's old. I mean, if you really think about it, it's old. I mean, obviously, Lord of the Rings is older, but it's kind of under the radar now. And both series were so good that it's probably the best TV I've ever seen.
Well, it's funny. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
would- I
Breaking
would
Bad
agree.
was one of those shows like you're talking about, like Game of Thrones, where people were talking week to week, in the zeitgeist. I can only assume.
And Breaking
And we're-
Bad was with Walking Dead is one of those shows that kind of brought TV into this new generation.
The $1 million.
Right.
I just,
Especially with
but
AMC.
I just think you're definitely right in the wave. It's just not in the, I don't know if maybe not necessarily everyone that went on from Breaking Bad went on to, because I remember I tried to watch Better Call Saul when it first
slow
started.
burn.
The first season was very slow burn.
Very slow.
But then I went back and rewatched it all the way through, just all back to back, and I was like, that was so fucking
Really good.
It was much more compelling to me, and I think that might be what might have stopped some people from jumping right on. But
Even
the
the most recent callbacks in the last season, when you see Saul say, "You're not with Lalo," and I had to say, "Did he say that in Breaking Bad?"
And he does.
And he does. And I
I was
like,
like,
wow.
yeah. I was like,
That was
crazy.
so cool.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been watching. I haven't been playing anything good. Nothing good on TV. So I'm just ready for Skyrim chat.
I love it.
Wow. I just called Trio Chris.
I gotta go. This is too weird now.
Chris?
Mr. Trio. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. What have I been doing? I've been playing a lot of Destroy All Humans 2. Remake just came out. God, that game is so much fun. When you talk about what a remake should genuinely be, that's what it is. You take the game, you update it. It's the story from what I can remember. Obviously, I don't remember it too specifically, but it's so much fun. What else have I been watching? Game of Thrones, obviously. We'll talk about that at some point when it comes up. There was something else I've been playing. Oh, yeah, Mafia. I finished the definitive edition. Really good.
Yeah.
Definitely kind of itches that Italian Mafia style, I don't know, itch that you might want to scratch yourself.
You brought up 2 remakes. Which do you prefer remake style?
So that's the thing. I don't know Mafia 1, so I can't really speak to that original remake. I assume that I'd be curious to talk to someone who played the original Mafia and played the remake, because I didn't even quite, when I saw Mafia Definitive Edition, I was like, what is this? Because it's obviously a new generation game. It's very nice. It's updated. The lighting's amazing. The character models are awesome. It's like, oh, this is a remake of the first one. So I'm curious as to how much those line up with how it's set up, because it is a mission. There's an open world, but it's just mission, linear mission after one after another. And I really enjoyed that. It was nice to just play through a 15-hour straightforward story.
Old school GTA style.
Yeah, and the shooting in it was very interesting, much different from like a GTA. Like, I think Last of Us probably does this, where you're never standing completely still. Even when your reticle's still, it's always swaying at a certain point. And it does make shooting a lot more challenging. And they have like a simulation mode on it too, where you actually have to follow the speed limits and all that stuff. There are certain little things that I really liked, and I was very surprised as to how much I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend picking it up. And they just announced a new Mafia getting made soon, so that is pretty cool. What else have I been watching? Not really much. It's funny. I always forget to prepare sometimes with these because there's always things that I'm playing. A lot of backlog stuff. Deathloop. I finally feel like I get it now, and I've been really thoroughly enjoying it. I've broken that seal. I don't know why. I've been trying to really get into it. I love Arcane. They're one of my favorite developers. So I think what they're doing in that game is very interesting. I do get why it's not everyone's cup of tea, though. And I see where they were laying the seeds for that game in Prey, the Moon Crash DLC, the way that's all set up, which I never even got to play. But I really wanted to. It's like you repeat the day after and after, and you try the runs in different fashions. But no, I think it's Deathloop's a lot of fun, and that's one of my favorite adaptive trigger uses. I think that the way you really
How do they do it?
You feel the gun I don't know, maybe other games aren't doing it as well.
Kind of has that a little bit.
Yeah, it might. Like, you really do feel the kick of the bullet, and you feel like you're kind of really pulling a trigger versus, like, some games I feel like I've been trying to do that on PS4, especially, like, even Ratchet and Clank. Like, I thought the way that used the triggers was interesting, but
what was the other one? Returnal.
Returnal
had a really
Returnal I played a little bit.
They basically added another button into that the full press.
Yeah,
interesting.
Full break.
That's right. That's what Ratchet and Clank does too, right? With one of the
certain
with certain guns, it's like you half pull it to shoot it one way, and then a full shoot to do it a different one. But the adaptive triggers are something I'm still being kind of like, is this worth like $10?
I again, we haven't, like, I don't know how Last of Us Part 1 takes advantage of them. I'm sure it does. We just need more games utilizing it in different ways to really understand, like, what the technology can do.
What's the point?
Right.
What's the point for the jump?
What's the point of the gimmick?
Yeah.
I will say, when I was playing Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
it is cool how you kind of feel like the grass as you walk by, and the vibration stuff on the PS5 controller.
That
I will give it to
vibration.
Them. They can use it in very interesting ways. Like, you're walking through the tall grass, and you almost like feel it like swoosh, and then like the way your mounts like clip clop on road versus like grass and such. Yeah. It's interesting, and I would like to see that utilized more. I'd love to see more. I don't know, next generation games would be fully next gen.
What a concept.
By the way, Destroy All Humans 2, I still cannot believe that was fully next gen. I really was surprised that they like didn't try and cash grab, because I think you could have probably dumbed down those visuals and stuff and put it on the last gen, but it plays really well.
That's what they did for the
original one. Yeah, the original one, or the original remake was released on both, but it was funny because as soon as I logged on to Xbox that day, all the reviews for 1 star for it immediately. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? All the reviews were from Xbox One people being like, I didn't know I couldn't play this on Xbox One. You can't play this on Xbox One. Big, like, people were trying to warn people like, did you not? It doesn't say that you can.
Review bomb for not reading.
Well, it's funny. It wasn't. I guess it was a review bomb, but it was just like, I'm like, did you guys not read that it wasn't compatible? Like, it says what it's compatible. Well, it says it right under where you're buying it on the panel. It's like, compatible with series consoles or whatever.
Right.
But what about you, Gooch? What have you been playing, doing, watching?
Well, I was at a wedding last week in New Mexico for a friend of the show, Ryan Fitzgerald, who was
congrats, Ryan,
been on the podcast before. A buddy who I met Ryan on Xbox, so that was kind of cool to go out there, do all that.
That's awesome.
On the plane ride, of course, I'm watching. I think I'm hitting a point where I'm watching too many DC films. I'm getting numb to them.
Sure.
New Frontier. Excellent.
I saw your letterbox wasn't too. What was that? A 3? Or a 4?
Yeah, it was like, I'm like, this is good, but like this whole movie is building up to the end. Like, I'm like,
it's definitely more of a slow burn.
Yeah,
I would
like,
say
this is a really slow burn.
You really are kind of sitting in that atmosphere more than anything.
Like, what is the I forget, not the underground, the center.
Yeah, that.
I'm like, this is like, it's cool that it's like a new, like they made like their own villain for this, and it's cool that. For those who don't know, the New Frontier is like the style of like the Golden Age characters, so everyone looks like old school.
Yeah, you got like Jake, Eric, Flash, and Green. Does Green Lantern show up in that? I can't remember.
Yeah,
is it Alan? But it's Hal Jordan.
It's Hal Jordan.
Yeah. So it's
and his origin
story.
Have
to watch that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool. It's very like 50s stylized.
That's kind of like the the era I like.
Oh, no, that's one of my
movies.
favorites, too.
Then you'll like the movie.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then I watched Batman / Superman Public Enemies, which is basically Lex's president.
I've seen that one.
Shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
The movie. It was all right. The art style was like give or take. I liked how they used like Lex has like a superhero like team for the White House,
Yeah.
and it's like Power Girl, Captain what's his name? Captain Atom.
I haven't seen it in so long.
There's
I
like
can't
I'm
remember.
like this is a really different cast of DC
Random team.
characters.
Yeah, it's like more
yeah.
the C-listers somewhat.
Yeah,
Maybe
and I'm
it's
like,
not- yeah.
I can appreciate that
For
but,
sure.
You know, all right. And then the other thing I watched, the Tony Hawk documentary on HBO.
Okay.
Oh.
Really interesting. I'm not a skater, but obviously Tony Hawk is pretty synonymous with
iconic.
our generation.
Absolutely.
You know, he did
Even
the,
with gaming.
He did
He
the
was in the pop
900.
culture
Yeah.
zeitgeist for sure.
Yeah, in gaming with the Tony Hawk games
Everyone's
and just
played them.
in general, yeah. Like he did the 900 when we were alive, and I remember.
No,
that,
it's insane.
you know.
Have you seen the interview of him talking about like the money he made off of the game?
Yes.
He's like,
It's only briefly mentioned. in
yeah,
that
it's like a
documentary.
very small snippet. He's like talking about the game and like how he got a check for like the residuals after it, and he was like, "What? Like how
lot,
much?
or-
Did, like this? Like an insane amount. Like
Yeah.
it like changed. He's like saying it like changed his life. I
Yeah.
think basically. But sorry.
Yeah, Tony Hawk, even in his prime, like wasn't doing hot money wise.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like
Skating was still kind of niche.
his dad
very.
Yeah.
actually helped found like the NSA, the National Skateboarding Association.
Oh, really?
I didn't
say.
know that. Yeah, not that.
the national security.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, wow, like Tony Hawk was like, I knew obviously like
He's a fucking spy. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
he was at the beginning of
He's like the
skating,
poster
but
boy.
like he was really at the beginning.
Yeah.
And, you know, now he's.
I mean, yeah, he seems
Tony
to be
Hawk.
that first skater that really kind of shot into every
Yes.
sphere.
Everybody knows
Yeah,
that.
like you
Yeah.
and yeah, that's
And
crazy.
it's like it's not like you find out in the documentary he's a total shithead. Like,
Yeah.
nah, Tony Hawk seemed to be pretty cool
cool.
throughout his whole life.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Obviously, you have your ups and downs, and he has a lot of like different kids from different marriages,
Yeah.
and but like I'm like overall Tony Hawk, like even now, like
Seems
I
like
saw-
he's trying to do right.
right,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
dude.
I
Like,
saw one scene. It might have been in that where he got real emotional because he can't do the tricks.
he
Yeah,
cannot
and
do the 900
the-
anymore.
To me, like I'm not a big skater. I'm
it's
not
the
even into
first
it, but
scene
it's sad.
of the documentary of him trying to do it, and he
Yeah.
falls, and he's fucking
Yeah.
taking these hits and these falls, and he like screams
Yeah.
in anger.
Yeah.
And he is officially retired the 900. He does not do it anymore.
That's-
I'm
damn.
like, that's
How
crazy.
old is he?
He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
He just hit
God.
60.
He doesn't
God,
look
no, he
bad,
doesn't. He
though.
doesn't look that
He
old.
really
Like,
doesn't
and
look
he's
bad.
like, and you know, I think that like towards the end of the documentary when they're kind of like in the now era, they're talking about him like, you know, doing tricks and doing stuff when he was younger, and he gets hurt, and it's like, you know, dude, you can't be like doing this stuff.
No,
like
yeah,
you could
like-
die.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, you know, he like kind of came to that conclusion, but almost was like, well, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, like
You love it.
I'm gonna
It-
still
yeah.
I'm gonna
It's
still
his
skate.
life.
I'm gonna like obviously like maybe not do the 900
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time I go up on the ramp, but like I gotta keep skating. And I
Sure.
was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Hey, he's doing better than Bam.
I didn't realize. Yeah.
He is doing better than Bam Margera.
That's not too tough, though, unfortunately, yeah.
Local celebrity.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing better than Bam, but
Yeah. Getting into the gaming of things, so I finally finished Dead Space 3. I feel like I've been trucking through that the whole summer. Finally did the no death playthrough, and that I did in like 2 attempts. And then the DLC, I get why people don't like Dead Space 3. It's
Sure.
very clear that EA got involved with Visceral and pushed them in a direction that Dead Space wasn't, which is why it got canceled. But I have to say, I would love to see a Dead Space 4. If
Like a-
this
like a-
remake does well,
I was
think
gonna
we
say.
could see that.
I think
It's-
that's what
yeah,
they
it's
they could
possible.
set up for sure.
Because I'm like the ending, I'm like, oh, now we're going to Earth, and it's Ellie Carver and Isaac Clarke, and I'm like, this is interesting. I'm like, Dead Space 3 does some things right, and they start really getting into the lore there, but they don't really explore it in the best way. But I'm like, I think if given another chance, I don't know who's making it. What's the studio?
I don't know, but
It's not.
no, I know.
It's not
but
Glenn
the-
Schofield who's
Exactly.
doing Callisto.
Callisto,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's-
another studio.
yeah.
I forget. I'm like,
That was going to be my point. Do you think that a Dead Space 4 could survive in a post-Callisto world, even though we
Yes.
haven't played it? You think so?
yeah, why not?
I mean, isn't there another scary game? Oh, well, Callisto's coming out. Then there's a Dead Space remake. But isn't there another horror like space game coming out too that keep people?
there have been a lot of horror space games like within the last year and a half.
Well, you
that have
got to
been
admit,
released.
Callisto is obviously piggyback. Like,
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
it
a
is-
spiritual
it's a
successor. It seems like
exactly.
yeah,
So
for sure.
It's like you have the sequel, and you also have what could be a better spiritual successor. It's going to be, you know what I mean, a fist fight.
Well, you
for
know what's going to
essentially
happen. Callisto's going to do well. They're going to see those money signs, and,
Yeah.
and
Callisto
whoever's
2.
making. Well, no, but not even that. But then whoever's making Dead Space remake, if that does well, they'll be like, no, make that Dead Space 4.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I would love, like Dead Space 4, like the way Dead Space 3 DLC ends off, it's like they're going Earth. It's like, okay, well, this is the end.
This would be awesome.
So
yeah.
I would like to see that. What game did that? Ratchet and Clank. I'm like, if Ratchet and Clank can remake the first one and then go back to the
And go off
series,
that. Well, so that would be another thing. But those are like sequels directly after the new Ratchet and Clank, though,
Yeah.
right? So like basically.
no. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a sequel to the last actual Ratchet and Clank game. It is not a sequel to the remake.
It is?
Yes. I think it's
trying to recall.
a Quest for Booty. I think was the last.
A Quest for.
I mean,
is
it
a- is a
definitely, but
sequel
like I
for-
thought tonally they're very different in the way like Ratchet and them like interact and
but,
things like
but that
that.
happens
Yeah.
through the whole series.
They definitely
totally
took
changed.
that.
Interesting,
from the
because I
remake.
would never have assumed
Because
that was the
Nefarious
case.
is in it,
Yeah.
and he's like original series Nefarious.
Yes.
And they use the Dimensionator, which is in A Quest for Booty, and those characters are also in it.
I guess it doesn't matter because I wouldn't have even questioned it
Right.
either way.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's like it
Right.
really, yeah.
You
So-
wouldn't be blamed for not playing.
Like,
a Quest
I would
for
have just
Booty in the other
assumed-
one because
yeah.
they were bad.
And I would have
Right.
just
And the-
assumed
and the
that was a
future stuff,
continuation.
I don't think they bring up the Lombaxes, but
Well, yeah.
like
they
in
do.
the sense of like the way Crack and Time deals
Oh,
with.
oh,
Like,
well, yeah, the
what's
one-
the race? The Terminites or whatever.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's something
a
like
little
that.
small guys, but then you got the other guy who's a Lombax who was friends with Ratchet's dad.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is. That gray guy. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that's Dead Space 3. I'm ready for the remake. I finally got through the whole
Give me
series.
more.
That's supposed to be coming out next year, right?
January.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take it.
Another throwback, Resident Evil 5, and I gotta say, hot take incoming.
Classic.
RE5 I think is better than 4.
Disagree, but
I
Is that the one in Africa?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is the one on the 360, the first one that was on that
I
generation.
remember playing that really young, and I couldn't get past the first part, and I just put
The
it down.
house part?
Yeah, I think so. I literally was like, I can't do it.
It is so high octane.
The 4
And
rip.
me and Chaz, my cousin, friend of the show, been on the podcast before. Shout out to him. We played on that very couch together, couch co-op. And I was like, dude, this what an experience that you like really take for granted for. Like next time you're playing a game that has co-op, like
Do the
maybe
couch
go
co-op.
out of your way to like
Destroy All Humans too. Has couch co-op.
do it.
does it?
Yeah, it
That's
does.
interesting.
Yeah, you can play the story, and then I think you can do like a versus mode too.
Okay.
Those
yeah.
those games that are made for couch co-op, Gears of War 1,
Dead Space 3.
Okay, yeah, but like those two games, Resident Evil and Gears of War 1, I can remember playing those like and getting in there.
would-
Couch
Right.
co-op
It
is
would
so
be
slept
great.
on.
It's a different experience.
It would
Yeah.
be great if like some old series that had couch co-op would bring it back, but then cancel the option like after months of waiting.
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, like, what a crazy
I mean,
decision.
what sick fucking sons
What
of
a
bitches would do
crazy
that?
decision. I mean,
I
I
don't
could
know.
never imagine that in 1,000 years.
I don't know, but someone should do it. Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
cough.
I'm still going through RE5. I'm on professional, grinding out some of the achievements. I got to get to the DLC, but I'm loving it. I didn't know
You're
what
like
I was gonna-
McDonald's.
I'm
loving it.
I'm
loving it.
Yeah, the issue with 4 was everyone is so high on 4 that I almost couldn't form my own opinion about it because I
Sure.
knew how significant it was. So I went into it going, and I finished it, and I was like, yeah,
That's still the
RE4.
most complete VR game I've played on like my Quest. I think genuine like that, but it was a lot of fun to experience it VR.
Right.
But I would love to play the remake when it comes. When is that supposed to come out? Next year, or did they not even give like a date?
I'm not really sure.
RE4?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That was like
think it does have a
officially
date. I
announced.
think it's
announced,
next
though,
year.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
pretty
been,
sure
like,
it is.
actually
We're
announced.
still
Okay.
waiting on any visuals.
Yeah.
I think they showed maybe like
They did not
10
show a lot.
seconds.
I would
Yeah.
assume they're going to use that same engine that they've been using for like
Yeah,
RE2
the
and
RE7.
stuff like
definitely.
So wait, you can play though RE. Isn't there a new update coming for RE7 that you can play it in third person?
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
DLC.
Is okay.
See now, how are they going to do that? Because they take such care not showing what's his name? Ethan?
Oh, they already showed his
Ethan
face. They
Winters.
already revealed his
Well,
face.
they revealed
Yeah.
his face,
Ethan
but they don't show it
Winters.
in. They don't show it in 8, do they?
No, they don't. But like, I think they revealed
showed
it
his
so
model.
that way now once you do this, you're just gonna see his.
It's me, Ethan Winter.
I'm curious.
They took so much care not showing him. They gave him no head.
well,
They
and I
didn't
feel
let
like
you
it was
see
almost to
anything.
make it be like it's you, in a
Yeah,
way, like to a
right.
degree.
And I
But
guess
Ethan's
that's
a
fine.
nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is curious.
To get off on a tangent, I think the next RE has to get back to some of that's how I said tangent. They need to get back to some of those characters like Rebecca, Jill, even characters like not Chris Redfield, anybody but Chris Redfield. Even Leon isn't that utilized. Chris Redfield though is like all over the fucking series.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where they're going with Mia Winters, but whatever. I still gotta play that game. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Jumping into Stardew.
You never played 8?
No, I'm going through the whole series.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we went through. Yeah, because then I forgot. Yeah.
Oh, you're in the slump now.
What?
After 5, you're in the slump.
Yeah.
What's Resident Evil 6? I can't even remember.
It's like everyone except
like
Jill.
Revelations. There's so many games from 5 to where they come back with 7.
With 7, yeah.
You're going to be
so
eating
next
slop
is
for
2,
long.
and then it's 6, and then 7 and 8.
So you're playing them like chronologically?
Yeah, I'm almost done. And I'm
Right.
watching the movies while I'm going, which is interesting. Yeah, so I've been playing Stardew Valley. That's been like a big, different direction for me. I'm having a lot of fun, still learning the game. I'll probably have more to say as I get farther into it. I'm still in the summer, but it's a nice breath of fresh air for like as I'm going through backlog. I'm like, I don't want to play a third-person action game. Like I need something different, and this was definitely all the different.
Is this your first like town building farming type of game?
Not exactly,
But like this type, like style.
modern,
Like legit farming?
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I love that game a lot. It's you really can just
It's cute.
You
It's a
can
vi-
you can
it's just
burn
vibe out,
hours
yeah.
with it and just like put on a podcast and hang out. It's really fun.
2 more. Well, technically a third, but you'll see the third. I've been playing a little bit more Guild Wars 2. Not much to say, but the 10th anniversary came out and they added some stuff, so I've been jumping back into that game. And last month on the podcast, we did a sort of celebrating 10 years of Guild Wars 2, which has been fun. And
Check
then
it out.
finally, I jumped back into Stranger of Paradise just a few days ago. The Trial of the Dragon King DLC came out, and I was 5 hours, and I'm done with it.
Kill chaos.
It's more Strangers of Paradise, but not too much.
What
to
is
say.
that game again?
Oh,
Is it like a like what?
Schlock, Dark Souls, Final Fantasy. That's
No.
all.
Yeah,
There you go.
Put it.
It's
We reviewed it on the podcast, and it's
that's right.
and it has some redeemable qualities, but
All you
overall
have
it
to
is
see-
schlocky.
you have to see you have to see the first boss get killed, the cutscene after that, and you know the whole entire game
Jesus.
from there. But after Nia, bullshit.
I don't give a fuck who you are.
He puts on like Breaking Benjamin or something and walks out.
It's like Olympics
Yeah.
song, I think.
my God.
That game is like it's so weird. It's there's nothing like it. But of course, last and certainly not least, I've been playing Skyrim. 130 hours of Skyrim so far, and of course I started playing Skyrim. And I'm like, shit, I have so much to say about Skyrim 10 years later. I'm like, we have to do a podcast about it. Like, Starfield's on the horizon. Elder Scrolls 6 is a bit
is not on the horizon.
No, it's not on the horizon, but it's there. And Bethesda really isn't in the greatest places of right now. They still have to win back their audience from 76, and the first step of that is going to be Starfield. But jumping into Skyrim for the first time, I'm just like, yeah, I like this game, but holy shit, it hasn't aged the greatest. It's
It's almost as if it's 11 years old.
There's a lot of things in Skyrim that I'm just like, wow, why did we think this was good?
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
Sure.
It's
Can you
like-
give me an example?
The combat. The entire combat.
Did you ever think
See-
the combat was good?
I don't know.
Because I didn't.
I don't know, man.
I
was like,
it always felt super floaty and like not
like the magic feels
It's-
okay because
it's
you're
never had weight,
you're
though.
seeing
Yeah.
the outcome of
exactly.
you
No, I
casting
think the
spell.
magic is what works the best for sure.
Elder
Yeah.
Scrolls has never had weight with its combat.
Even
and
like Fallout games, I feel like
love
haven't.
Morrowind. I love Fallout.
Sure.
I love Oblivion. It's never had weight. It's never felt good. And anyone who tells you that the combat feels good is
lying
a
to
liar.
themselves.
And I'm not shitting on it.
No,
Because
it's just what it is.
It just doesn't feel good. You feel like nothing, and then
You don't feel like you're hitting something when you hit it.
You're
Right.
hitting nothing, and then for example, when you kill a dragon, you do this crazy animation. It's like, wow, that was great. Okay, like on to the next thing. You know what I mean? You get no.
Yeah, no, I do like the animations here and there. I do think they add a bit of spice to it for sure. But I agree with it. I'm not going to Skyrim for the combat at all.
No.
That's not why I'm there.
No.
Even like Fallout, I think the shooting got a lot better in Fallout 4, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
even still, the knife and stuff,
melee,
it felt a bit better. But
They added a hit marker.
They added a hit marker.
Wow.
But yeah, fighting's. I agree with that 1,000%.
You just said that you like Magic. You said you like Magic, and
Yeah.
I always play essentially a Magic character. Is that what you guys always go for?
I usually. So actually, I would
You
say
know that.
I
You
do
know
love.
that.
I have to ask.
I
for
love
that.
a bow and arrow too. I do think the bow and arrow works pretty well.
Oh, stealth
for me.
archer,
Yeah,
very
that's-
original.
I mean,
So,
that's what I always. That was literally. It's funny, like growing up and seeing that meme. I'm like,
That's
this
me.
is me. I do this all the time. Like that's my favorite thing.
I usually do, a warrior approach. And in the Elder Scrolls games, I always kind of like to be a jack of all trades. And I feel like that ends up getting you into kind of trouble,
I agree.
if you know what I mean. Because
yeah.
you're trying to put
Focusing
your
on too many things.
You're putting your eggs in a bunch of
Too
different
many baskets. Yeah.
And I kind of, it happened here a little bit. On my second playthrough, like, all right, I'm gonna do one hand and shield.
Okay.
Shield sucks in Skyrim.
In what way?
I almost
What
just.
were you using?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like
Like
in what?
you
Like
could
how
do-
does it? I'm sorry. Go.
No.
How
no.
does it suck?
You could do multiple builds where shield is good. You could use a.
And I think that's it. I'm not building into it.
Okay.
So what?
I'm-
Yeah, you weren't adding to the block tree.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah,
see,
yeah.
See, that's your fault.
And,
Yeah.
and see, and then here's the thing. I think that leads into another point. What going forward? Like, I think Bethesda needs to look at Skyrim, especially not necessarily Fallout 4, but Skyrim, and be like, what? How can we make like everything in this game
Better.
exceedingly better? And the leveling system, the perk system, I don't think I liked
flawed.
it when I originally played it, but going back and I'm just like, there's too much and too little.
And
to-
it feels like they brought it even in. I know it's not a Fallout 4 podcast, but they even
no,
brought
no,
it into
I think
Fallout.
it's- I think it's perfectly
Bethesda,
fine to bring up Fallout,
Like
you know?
in the way of like how you use the perk system in the
agree.
next one, you get a perk point, and then you either add it to the base perk or then you add it to one of the perks
there's
below it.
too much.
There's a better way to do it, but I do think that was an incredible step up from Oblivion. In my opinion, I think it works way better.
I think I
in the way of
disagree.
how I guess in the way of how you actually get the skill. I mean, how you actually get the skill points is the exact same as Oblivion.
Oh yeah.
I think
Per use,
Oblivion. I just didn't really love like going back and playing it. I didn't necessarily like just upgrading these three. I think Fallout New Vegas might have my, and that's not even Bethesda, might have my favorite leveling
it
system.
It might as well be.
Yeah.
Pick your.
where you pick your perk,
skills.
but then you get, I guess
It's a
that's
Bethesda
similar to.
game. It's published by them.
I don't know how I want a game to level me, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like my biggest flaw with the leveling system, just to
Sure, yeah,
piggyback
yeah,
off that.
yeah.
When you I think they made it worse with the what do they call it? That legendary system. You could be jack of all trades and you have no weight with your character. You could be the leader of the companions and also the archmage and do all this stuff and be great at everything that you kind of have no. You have no pizzazz. You have no character. I mean,
yes.
with
I
Oblivion,
know a lot about that.
with Oblivion, you had to pick majors, you had to pick minor. Same thing with Morrowind, and you felt like I had to make a wizard in Morrowind. You know what I mean? To get the most out of it, or else I wasn't
To
getting
get the most out of like the Mages Guild or
Yeah,
something, because
like
I do feel like
Tobon.
They get most
Oblivion
out
was
of
the
using
same thing too.
Magic.
Every-
I think in general.
Yeah.
everything. It's just like I think the biggest flaw with Morrowind, like going off that, is
Sure.
people make a character and then start make like a thief character and start swinging around an axe. That's not what you're supposed to do. If you make a thief in Skyrim, you could do whatever you want, and it's cool. But is that the character?
But what do you mean you could do anything you want?
You
Because
can-
I feel like you still
can
have
spec
to do.
into thief, but you can still use an axe and probably be like just as effective.
With
I
this-
would disagree with that 100% because
no.
once you start getting to
when you're getting your nuance things, yes, you're
well,
right.
but when you get to later levels, you can't use a low level. If you
Oh,
haven't been
no.
putting anything into your axe and you try and use an axe, that thing fucking
But
doesn't
you
work.
could- you could have every skill
You could
100.
use it. You could. Well, that's I'm saying. But
Yeah.
if you're just at the beginning, if you're just focusing on something, if you're truly trying to be a thief,
True.
you could, but you're not going to be as good as a thief as you.
That
You're
is
not
true.
going to be as high up as a thief. You have to use those skill points
Yes.
to use. That's why, like, don't get me wrong. I think that the it's flawed.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of exactly how I'd like to do it better because I would like to see
I think
more.
that's the issue. It's like,
like,
how do we do it better?
I
You
would
need
like
minds
to
smarter
see
than us.
more dialogue options roll up in this, and not even in the way of literally just how many you have, but like when you're if I'm a mage and my fucking alteration is at whatever 90.
Wow.
I have a thing
Dedication.
that I can talk to the alteration mage for. He gives me a certain quest or something like that. Like, I think that's where they need to get into like class specific quests.
Kind of like how Fallout New Vegas had it, where if you had a high demolition skill, you would
could
get
get
the
that
dynamite
thing.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Exactly. I think there
Bring
is
in
something
some
interesting.
D&D elements back into and Skyrim. One thing Skyrim does poorly, I mean, not does poorly, but
Everything.
to its detriment, is it's more casual. Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout, they're all a little bit more.
No, for sure.
They're
I mean, it made it reach
hardcore
a more
It's-
reasonable. Like, if you try and get someone, even me, when I played Oblivion the first time around, I hated it.
Yeah.
I fucking despised it. I didn't get it. I was young. I didn't feel like putting in the time to understand it. I do think you're right. There's something comes at a cost of making it more mainstream.
Right.
But I don't find it to be that much of a jump. At least from playing Oblivion recently, I don't find it to be that much of a jump in like specific things you have to pay attention to make it much more hardcore. I guess it's more of like this, like I never used any of the building systems in Oblivion or anything like that because I did find it very
do you mean
complicated,
building
like
systems?
like crafting systems and like crafting potions and crafting
You're
like
gonna have to remind me.
like that's what I'm saying. Like you would go in.
Is it just alchemy?
It was alchemy, and then you'd have to have
the-
someone make swords and stuff for you.
You
I
have
don't
to
think
have
you
the
could make.
mortar and pestle.
Right, okay.
the
I
can-
do miss things like that,
been a
where
few
it's like
years.
my
As well.
my armor is disintegrate.
Yeah. You need the armor,
Repair hammers.
and
Those things I
tongs
think would be nice to have
Yeah.
back in as an option, at
I
least like
agree.
as a hardcore mode, maybe, or even something like that.
And kind of bringing this conversation back to the leveling system, why are alchemy, enchanting, things that I actually have to waste points to spec into that are secondary skills, they're taking away from the character class. You know,
Sure.
as a warrior,
You would want them to be like sub things because I think those do make sense as like full
Because
on.
alchemy,
Okay.
enchanting,
But I don't know, actually.
smithing,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all sub trees. They're
Yeah.
not the main. You're not fighting with blacksmithing.
So
like,
true, but you're
why-
still
yeah.
learning.
You
but
have to waste a lot of points to go into that tree to be able to do that stuff,
Well,
and you're not contributing to your actual build. I think,
And those are the
your-
ones you're
your
gonna wanna
professions
use
and
on
your-
all of them
and your
almost.
jobs are just the secondary thing. You don't have to do enchanting, or you don't have.
You know,
to
it's
do
you know, it's a
alchemy,
skill I
but it's
always
kinda
use on
useful.
literally every single class is a healing spell. I always get my healing up no matter what, because I don't have to keep healing potions and stuff on me.
true.
I think going off of what Gooch said, you kind of lose it too. If you go back to play Morrowind, if anyone has went back and played it recently, there were enchanting merchants where you walked up, you said, I want to enchant this piece of gear, and they would do it for a certain price. And they don't have that anymore, and it kind of loses. They make the joke about it in the College of Winterhold. The guy who trains you in enchanting, you say, "Can you enchant my
just-
gear?"
yeah.
He says, "Nah, you got to learn how to do it." Why?
No, I agree. You should be able to circumvent having to level
it-
up. I should be able to go
And
to
same
a.
with smithing. Same thing.
No, I agree with
Same
you.
with alchemy.
That makes more
everything.
sense to me in the way of instead of just taking that skill tree, because I think it makes sense to make it a skill tree. But like I like what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
You should have a way to circumvent that if you want to. I don't want to spend any money on or spend any skill points on my enchanting.
Somebody
I'm gonna
enchant for me.
I'm gonna fucking be a battle or whatever I want to be. I'm gonna make money doing that way, and I'm gonna pay a dude to enchant for me.
Exactly.
No, I think that makes total sense.
Through the refining of all these systems, you lose a lot that you could do.
But even that just seems like a dumb choice on their part to me. It's
Oh,
not even
yeah.
like a refining of like that doesn't even seem like
It
a
just seems
system
like they
part.
didn't think
like
about
why
it.
didn't you think to allow me to, yeah, exactly.
Well,
Right.
it's like it would be more refining when you talk about the skills. What's the point of alteration? What's the point of
That's another thing I did want to bring up, and I'm like, it's always goes down to alteration, illusion. It's like, what?
I believe like alteration.
they gotta
used,
change.
You're
that.
altering reality. But that's
no,
like,
no.
Alteration used to have,
Who is fucking using that as a main
yeah,
thing?
not anymore.
I want to see the main build person who has alteration at 100.
Mine was at like 95, I think.
But like,
were
what are
you
you
doing?
doing?
I use the
light.
the light.
The light!
The light. I use the stone flesh. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
use
okay.
clairvoyant. No, that's illusion. There's a few good
But, like,
alterations. Detect life a
there
lot.
used to-
I use
there
that.
used to
Definitely
be-
understandable, but like, I feel like that compared to destruction, it's
Yeah.
such a secondary
It's just
magic.
stupid.
I think they need to like Fred is saying, like, how do you refine those really secondary skills
and
better?
still give them weight.
Right, and still make them. It's like, oh, like it would be cool to go into alteration, and
Like, you lose. Remember when you could? I forget if it was alteration or illusion, but it was open lock.
Yeah, that
and
was
you had-
alteration.
in Oblivion.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. It was like
It's in both.
in Morrowind had it too.
Oh,
it was
not-
like
not
Yeah,
Skyrim.
not Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we say both, we have to
Yeah.
clarify.
Well, that's
I'm just curious. I'm looking up the list of the alteration spells.
it's like you would have the one Advesi lock crack or whatever, and it opened up to 50. You might not get the chance, and that's a whole different thing, the spell chance, but you would be able to open up a lock as a mage character if you didn't have lock picking.
No, I agree.
right.
They
Or
took
as a
away some
warrior.
spells where you were like, oh man, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like you would be able to circumvent that
Yeah.
in the way of I don't want to spend money on my sneak tree.
Yeah,
but
like,
I'm
what's
putting
illusion-
stuff. I'm putting stuff into
Yeah.
my alteration tree. That way, I don't need
Yep.
to worry about lock picking. I just boosh.
No,
it's true because there
lose
are
it.
certain base traits that you are going to put on every single character.
Always.
like extra pockets that's hidden under 50 sneak to get 100 more weight. It's like, holy shit.
Why do that when I could have
Dude,
a
do you
companion
well,
train of
Did you guys
50
ever get
people?
up your talking skill? Your
There's no point.
No, but there is. You can buy shops. Like you can do so many things with it that I didn't realize you could do. Like I just never invested points into it
I
because
did
like
when
why
I originally
you
played.
can get like a lot more money for that. Like again, I think those trees do work if you know about them and you even want to. But again, then you're wasting money
Yeah.
putting into it. I wonder what's different. Like I think back for the time when this came out. Personally, I loved it. I think it works. I do think you
Yeah.
need to improve on it now, especially. You guys are making good points though in the way of these secondary skills that, again, you're putting
And-
on every character because how are you going to get
And
through the game if
why
you don't have
doesn't
them?
cooking and they added baking at some point? I'm not
Yeah.
sure when they did that.
Yeah.
Why
The
aren't
special
those
edition.
skills? Because you do a hell of a lot of
Well,
cooking and
that's
baking.
kind of silly. A cooking skill.
Why not?
I mean, like-
World
But I
of
don't-
Warcraft has a cooking skill.
Yeah,
Guild
but
Wars 2 has a
those
cooking
are-
skill.
those
See,
are
I
a
think
little
if you
different.
start creating those very secondary skills, yeah, you can sneak that in as one. But
Where's
again,
bandage
it's not
making?
as like I'm fine with like alchemy being a skill because that would be like an
yeah.
institution you would go learn in basically to learn.
You're telling me
alchemy.
you don't learn how to cook?
No, but you learn how to cook. I guess you could do it with
Any-
alchemy. Fine.
Any traveler.
I gotcha.
If you're a warrior, if you're a traveler, if you're someone on the road, you would have to know how to cook. So
survive,
Yeah,
yeah.
like they have to know how to cook, even if it's slop. You know what I mean? Even if they're making gruel.
But also, cooking
I-
you don't need as much too. Like you need potions.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
you,
I cook a shit ton.
it's funny.
I
I
always
never-
buy salt
never
piles
ever.
from people.
really why? Like I guess you
'Cause I
get,
like
you
to
get
cook-
health that way,
because
right?
Just for fun.
It's a fun time.
Just for fun.
I pick up so much food that I want to
You
utilize
do
it.
that?
Yeah.
I usually just drop it. That's the
Really?
thing. So that's the one thing with
I
food
pick up
is it's
so
usually
much food.
there are these little things that where you're like, why is this it? Like even the survival mode,
Yeah.
I like that, but
That makes sense.
let me fast travel. Just let
Yeah.
me have all the things that are in a survival mode where I have to worry about like my food and I have to worry about what I'm wearing. I kind of like adding those layers on, but I do want to be able
Can
to
I
do
bring
certain
up
things.
fast travel?
Yeah.
How I think fast travel. This has been of opinion I've had in RPGs for a while. I think fast travel can really kill a game.
Ruins
Meaning, like once you get a lot of locations, you're just skipping around and you're kind of not in the world anymore.
Yeah,
sure.
You're just jumping around.
What's the point of walking? Like, what's the point of walking to somewhere just to see the chance of something cool happening on the road?
The experience?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, but I think
it's-
that was
it's a
kind
flaw.
so that was the argument for Red Dead 2 and why it didn't have a fast travel
Yeah.
system, and that would the idea is you're supposed to journey to each destination because you are going to run into something new every
like
time.
that.
And
I
that's
like it
I
too.
think back in the day with these, there are some world events that
we
I
have
didn't even know.
radiant quests and things like
It
that.
is funny.
That.
I was like, "Oh, this shit existed in this game." I did not even
Right.
realize that.
Yeah.
I didn't even comprehend
it was
really what it
definitely a
was.
selling point. I remember they talked about like especially
Rating
the
que-
rating
oh my
quest
God.
system, which I think is horrible now
It's the
because
worst system of
because
all
it's
time.
so vanilla. It's so
What is the Radiant quest? Like,
oh,
what is that?
Go,
Like, so,
here's your bounties are an
Yeah.
example of rating quests.
Sure.
When they're go to X place, kill X thing, get
I
X
see.
weapon,
Yeah,
bring
and
it
they
back.
just keep repeating.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right,
okay.
and it's
Or
not
any,
it's not interesting.
Yeah.
after every faction, once you finish the
Yeah,
faction,
you keep those like the Dark Brotherhood thing where you keep getting.
can I get a new contract?
Yeah.
You go do the contract. It's nothing. It's like a guy
It's
somewhere.
a way to make money, but like
Yeah.
at that point, like I'm
See, those
I'm
on
rich
the end, I don't
already.
necessarily hate because it's not like it's taking away from the quest. Like at the end, like I just stopped doing those quests.
Yeah.
But I do see what you're saying, especially for those ones where you just get the bounties from Jarls, and it's like go to this place that you've already been to and clear it out
Yeah.
again.
It's
or
like,
something
Right.
like
here's
that.
It's like,
200
why
gold.
don't you bring me to a place I haven't been,
Yeah.
so I'm not
That's a great
wasting
idea.
time.
No, exactly.
And going back to the fast travel of it, it's like how does Bethesda reinvent the fast travel system to make it maybe a little bit more hardcore. Maybe make it something that you earn. Like, I don't really know how you would do that, but also making it so your players actually interacting with your world and traveling through it. And it's funny, in this playthrough, I found mounts utterly useless. I'd rather just
There's
walk.
no point.
There's no point in
mounts.
mounts.
I never used mounts in this game.
I used
There's
them a
only a
lot in
couple.
Oblivion.
Yeah.
Really?
Like Shadowmere,
needed it.
I felt like
needed
you
it.
needed it.
Yeah, because you. Yeah, I feel like I never really used a mount in Oblivion either.
I have the dwarven horse from the fucking
you just
one
go
of the
vertical.
the creation clubs, but I'm like, I don't even want this thing.
Yeah.
I don't use it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can I just
I
kill
feel
it?
like mounts in those games never really
die.
worked well. Again, I never used it in Oblivion. Really, I never.
I did a ton.
I don't know.
Horse armor, come on.
Horse armor. That was the
$3,
first like
thanks.
cosmetic DLC.
That was
right?
like the first
the
DLC.
scam.
Oh, man.
To go off of what Gooch said, I think we saw it in the past. It should be like, I hate to be the guy who goes back to Morrowind, but
I think that's important, though.
They had the Silt Striders. They had mage portals.
I think they're extinct.
That should be well, true, but it's like
Silk
they had-
Striders?
Like they were just
In the
big-
lore.
They were like
But no, they're
characters.
in. I thought they were in.
They're
Are
in-
those big things in
There's
Morrowind?
not as many as them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well,
We'll talk about lore at some point.
The whole what I mean is like the carriage. Why would I use the carriage when I have a fast travel? Why would I pay a guy?
Well,
Like,
to
I
get
see-
there quick.
I find that
Well, no,
utterly-
so that's only for the beginning of the game.
Some jabroni is jumping from city to city.
it's a,
you know?
but that's
When
what
I first started, I
Some-
just go
some
to because I
jabroni
wanted
everywhere.
it would just take you to the city and then I could
Yeah.
spread out from there. Certain that was more for like later
Yeah.
playthroughs where like the first playthrough I walked to every
See,
single.
even
those
now,
are
I
the systems
didn't
they should
utilize
use.
that.
That's what they should use. They should. When I become the Archmage, they should put a portal in each city. When I become the Thieves Guild, maybe there's an underground rail. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to call it, like
A literal railroad.
well, no, but like something underground, like a
Right.
cave system or something. You know,
I don't think
something-
I agree with you guys. General audiences don't want that. So and it sucks, and I hate it, and I wish they would just commit
If
to
I
it and make it better.
if I could turn fast travel off, I think I would.
But the biggest
that
ever,
should be what they would do.
That should be a thing.
A toggle.
Why not?
well,
just
you
toggle
can,
it.
well, but like
I can just
you
not,
could just not fast
use it.
travel.
Right, but
Yeah, but-
it's still I still do it.
But that's the thing. I feel like that's taking away something. Like I get it. I agree with you guys.
wanna be
I think they
immersed.
should make a world that's interesting enough that you don't want to travel.
Exactly.
fast
right,
travel through.
right.
hit the
And
nail
I
on
think
the
that
head.
was
That's
my
the end-
initial point.
That's
How
the
do-
end
how do
goal
we
for
how do
me.
we do it so that the game isn't incentivizing you to fast travel?
No, I agree, and I do think like fast travel is a necessary evil sometimes because sometimes I do just want to pop back to the
Yeah.
Thieves Guild
Or
to
it's
drop
like
off a
literal
quest or something like that.
like east to west.
Yeah,
Like, I
I'm
gotta
not
get
walking across
the
this
whole map.
entire map. So I don't know. I do think walking to it to earn it makes sense to a degree. I do like your idea of unlocking like these portals. Like there's some game mechanic
Yeah.
that unlocks it even
Death
more.
Stranding actually introduces
go.
fast travel in a very interesting way. Because I didn't fast travel in that game until I beat it, until I was done.
Really?
Yeah.
And especially the end. The fact that you have to go back through the entire world is like a part of the journey. Like you can't fast travel, but like the game it forces you to. But there's like it's like almost like an immersion thing, or
yeah.
like not lore, but like they're making you do that for a very specific reason.
I think it's.
I'm not saying like they need to do
Yeah.
that for.
I think
obviously,
Death Stranding is a little bit
RPG,
different just
but-
because there's like when
It's literally about journey.
It's a
in that
marvel.
game.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah,
walking.
it's a marvel to walk through. You lose half of the gameplay, like the BTs.
I
and,
would say the
like,
point of the gameplay is walking
The-
everywhere.
you-
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
you lose like a big part in Skyrim. Like, for example, when we said Red Dead, I wanted to see stuff. I wanted to walk around and see a shack and walk up to the shack. You know what I mean? In Skyrim, it's like, oh, here's a cart toppled over. It might be some wolves. You know what I mean?
and then
Like,
it glitches through the map.
like, why would I walk when I have to fight 60 dragons from Windhelm to Solitude? You know
Well,
what I mean?
and,
It's like,
and,
that's
every,
annoying.
and every point of interest is
Fighting
marked. So you know when
Yeah.
you're getting to somewhere important,
Yeah.
it has a marker
Fred
on
is
it.
so right. Dragons become such a nuisance.
Did you-
Yeah, it's fun. I feel you
fight.
get to the point where they don't even matter. Like I
and
just
like
swat them
dragon
away.
bones, like I feel so guilty
dumb.
not taking
Oh, they're so
all
stupid.
the dragon bones. I have so many, and when I get to craft dragon armor and I use all that shit,
It's,
like
it's the ugliest armor you'll
Oh,
ever see.
I
It's
like it.
This part of the guy's mouth like sticking out.
They
It's
did,
like a
did you
bondage.
see the new one that they put in? Like it's like it's like dragon
No,
plate
no,
armor.
no, I know
It's
they have
I like the
they have
newer
plate.
like the new versions of them much better. But
Yeah.
I don't love that armor either.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Fred's point about Red Dead. I kind of hope they make Elder Scrolls V, like they look at what Red Dead Redemption 2 did with what's unnecessary immersion and kind of take notes from that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, like it makes the game better. Like in the long run, are people complaining about Red Dead 2 being like that? No.
I think
In
you
the
have this.
short
You
term,
have a long.
yes.
I think you have a small sect that still do. But yeah, I agree with you for sure. And
Yeah.
I think that's what you're going to an Elder Scrolls game for, is partly the immersion.
Yeah.
Like you, and I would think that they realize that. I would hope that they realize that. I don't know. I can't get in Todd's head or and all the other people at Bungie. I want to be able to. Sorry, Bethesda. I want to be able to sit and really breathe in that world. And even Red Dead kind of falls short in that. Like there are a lot of things you can't do in Red Dead. Again, this won't turn into a Red Dead podcast. But I wish I could like sit at a chair randomly. Or smoke a cigarette like you can in online. You can't do those
Play
kind of like
cards
little
or something,
like immersionary things, which I would love to see in an Elder Scrolls 6. I want to be able to sit by the fire and like have my character react to it in certain ways.
Speaking
Like,
of that, the cities need to be so overhauled. Like it's funny how like in Oblivion we got the Imperial City.
The Imperial City is one of the greatest cities ever created in all of gaming.
It's huge, but like every other city is really small. And in Skyrim, you're getting
All the holds.
You're getting more of that. Falkreath, Whiterun, even Solitude are all generically the same size. And I'm like, well, wherever we go, hopefully it's Valenwood or elsewhere. That's what I'm gunning for.
It's got to be High Rock.
well, I think it literally.
Those cities need to be like that teaser trailer.
They have to be.
They need to be these
grand.
living complexities, you know?
See, I think Skyrim kind of had, going off that point, Skyrim had so much lore and so much. Solitude is supposed to be this big, bustling, like, you know what I mean? This big, giant city on the side of a mountain. And then you walk in and it's like one road and then it's like two roads with houses. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the point? Like, the scale is so off that they kind of, it throws you out.
They missed the mark.
Even
I don't know. I guess I never really. Again, I don't know about the lore.
Right.
So walking in, it does feel like the big sprawling capital of Skyrim, and it does feel like this comparatively, at least. Like, of course, Whiterun might be bigger, but I guess just the way it feels more modern, and maybe that does something for me in the way.
I think Whiterun
it's these big stoned.
Whiterun is great.
Yeah.
I think, but the fact that all the other cities are like just the same size.
Yeah, but I do think that kind of lends itself to the Nordic smaller whole.
Yeah.
Like I guess that lines up to me in the way of thinking.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you think of the imperial capital, you have this big,
grand.
sprawling imperial city. But I do agree with you guys. I would love to see a genuinely dense, packed,
The only
crazy big
one
city.
that really, to me, fails is Markarth. Markarth is supposed to be this dwarven city
Like kinda,
in the mountain with all these. That's Markarth, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
It's definitely it's
Yeah.
Markarth.
no,
You're right.
you're right,
You're
you're
spot
right.
on.
Yeah. It's like supposed to be
Markarth's
this.
just a village.
Yeah. It's supposed to be this big, giant, dwarven thing. And it's like, here's some carvings. Here's a museum. It's like, and then you walk outside and it's all rocks. It's nothing. It really throws you off.
Is it Morthal, the city that has the graveyard? We were talking about this.
So-
and that graveyard is
No,
like
not Morthal. That's what's the
Falkreath?
Falkreath.
Yeah.
Falkreath is supposed to have a graveyard and these
massive-
burial temples of
Yeah.
thousands of years of. Like, if you wanted all the Draugrs in the game, that's where they should be.
Where they would be, yeah.
There should be temples and these, like, different architecture and all this different kind of crazy stuff. And you walk in, it's like, what's to do
Here's
here?
like 3 rows of graves.
Here's 3 graves and a werewolf in the dungeon. You know what I mean? That's it. And then you're out. Like, that's
Right.
that's all
Now,
it
do you
is.
think they were limited technically back then? Is that why they didn't do it, or do you think
I'm
that they
sure.
couldn't make like?
But there's
like-
a lot of discrepancies in the lore,
Like-
especially with this game.
Are all these lores coming from like Oblivion, or is it like, where's it from? I'm curious.
Everything that
Describes
that has been
these
written-
cities, yeah.
Like, there's that game Redguard. I think in the manual for Redguard, it talks about all these different characters and stuff and these races. And the way they describe the Nords is like these tattooed,
Hardy people,
like,
yeah.
And one of the biggest flaws in the lore, I won't go too deep in lore, but every Nord was supposed to be able to use Thum, like the dragon voice. That was their war tactic. They wouldn't have trebuchets and all these crazy war machines. It would be 6 dudes using Thum and blowing your walls out. It's
But then that doesn't make you cool.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well,
You're not the cool dragon one then.
I have to go to my notes
but,
because I wrote that.
Yeah.
You should be an ambiguous hero. I think the ambiguous hero is the most important thing for Elder Scrolls games. Making you the Dragonborn was the biggest flaw of all time. I think
I never really thought of it like that because in in Oblivion, you are
You're nowhere.
right place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
but,
like, oh, shit,
it does
been
seem to be
going
by
through-
fate. Like you were supposed to be.
Right,
like, he's
but, like, you
I've
are-
seen you in my dreams.
Well,
like, yeah.
But you're not
yeah.
titled.
Oblivion,
like that.
No,
you're,
yeah.
you're the guy who helps the guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're the right-hand man in Oblivion.
But
sure.
in Skyrim, you're the dragon.
You're a god.
But also,
like,
the events of Oblivion wouldn't happen if you weren't around. Like, you are the key to that happening.
It is true.
right.
but
like,
you're not the direct guy
Yeah.
who's going to face Meiru's Dagon and
I,
take him
I
out.
think there's a difference between the title Hero of Kavach and the Dragonborn.
The Dragonborn.
Sure.
Right,
You're-
like the Dragonborn is like
Yeah.
a legend from like literally the beginning of
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
You're-
like from the first age
Yeah,
or whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's-
Like this has been written on a fucking wall
Sure.
in Skyrim.
Yeah.
But with the Hero of Kavach, you're just
You're a guy.
You're a person in a circumstance, and you're triumphant.
you don't get that gravitas just from the random people with the Hero
right
of
when
God.
they're you're Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Like
you
not.
You walk up.
What do they
after
say
coming
when you
out-
when you
Dragonborn.
You're the Dragonborn?
Yeah.
Kavach? Oh,
You're the hero of Kavach. Oh,
I used to think highly of you, and now I don't. So, like,
it's like you. I could
yeah,
go on forever.
I
but
don't know. I don't necessarily not like that part. I do think there is validity to
I
having
think-
this person that's more ambiguously not like because you're. I mean, regardless, you are the hero of the story,
That is
For sure.
true.
but I see what you're saying. I can't
I
expand
think,
anymore.
I think now this just might be me.
Sure.
I think they came up with two things for Skyrim, and I think they
like
they
two
wa-
main quests,
well,
almost.
no,
Yeah.
Like I think they came up with two like ideas on a whiteboard and went from there. They
Sure.
came up with a beautiful map because you got to say Skyrim, the map, like when you
and
open the map,
in
It's
the
awesome.
anniversary edition,
It's beautiful.
I gotta admit they address the issues of like
Gray. Yeah.
They just put that saturation bar up a little bit.
Again,
more.
to warm just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Moved
And
it over.
it was the beautiful map, like the beautiful area, and dragons. They came up with those two things and said, "How could we shoehorn these in
I
together?"
hope we get rid of the gimmick of like not that they're not gonna have dragons in the next
No,
game,
of
and you're
course.
not gonna have the theme,
Of course.
and the voice, but like
What is
ultimate-
the gimmick?
I don't think they need one.
I think
Oblivion didn't have one.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You didn't have like. Yeah, and I guess I should a gimmick in a. I shouldn't say because I don't
Yeah.
really feel. I do feel like the dragon.
What's the draw?
the shouts are fleshed out well enough, and it's like I think there's a ton of them.
Some
I think
are
there's-
useless.
Some are really cool. Some of them are useless for sure.
when you
but
get
I do
dragon
think
rend, you're like the whole game becomes so simple because you shoot
you shoot
dragon
down and then they
yeah.
come down.
That's
No,
so sick.
I do. I like that system. Do I think we need something akin to that to necessarily bring us back in for the next one? No,
No.
no.
Well, I think Morrowind had it real good. Where for a lot of Morrowind, it was
You're
art-
the Neverine, right? That's your
yeah,
title.
well, you're the Nerevarine, but you don't know. There were multiple perspected Nerevarines. Like you, at one point in the quest, I won't go too deep into it, but
Sure.
you find a statue of Azora, and if you're the Nerevarine, you have to put this ring on, or else you're dead. You know what I mean? Obviously, as soon as you put it on, you're him essentially. But there's all these corpses lining this this statue, and it's like that was someone who thought he was the hero and did all these other trials and tribulations, and he wasn't it.
Yeah.
And it, even though it's not ambiguous, it's still interesting to say, are you or are you not?
sure.
And in this, you kill one dragon 30 minutes in, and you're it. And from
No, it's
then
true.
on, you're it.
I do.
and it's it's
No,
a shame
no.
the main quest line isn't good.
Oh, it sucks.
I think it's fine. I mean, I don't think. Do you
in
guys love
Skyrim,
like Oblivion's
No.
original quest line?
I think Oblivion. See, it's been a while.
Sure. No,
So-
and genuine because again, like
Nostalgia is
one
coloring
thing that's
any
I
opinion
think
have
so
of Oblivion.
amazing about
but
these
Oblivion's
games
a
to me.
fucking meme at this point.
For sure.
it's a fucking meme.
it's so
the
funny.
whole game is hilarious.
It's, I mean, everything from how they stand up to sit
yeah,
to talk.
it's a
Yeah,
joke.
it's still great to play.
Have you heard of the High Elves?
Or you're the grand champion. Can I carry your sword?
Yeah.
Can I fight you? Shut up. Leave me alone.
Just get out of my way.
the grunting noises in Oblivion
But
are
like,
great.
I do think one thing with these games that you almost can't even do with like a Witcher is someone could go in and play 40 hours of this game and go, I beat the game. What do you mean you beat the game? I did the quest. I just played the main quest line. It's like, what, you beat the game? It's like, no, that's all I wanted to do. Like, I just wanted, but
Did the
they
main
didn't even,
quest, that's it.
they didn't even touch 99% of what's
Factions.
going
And
on in the
it's
game.
funny how the Elder Scrolls games are quite the opposite.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Everyone
Elder Scrolls,
knows
like,
everything else.
well, but that's what I mean. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you could go in and do that. Whereas, like, The Witcher or like some other RPGs that are amazing and I'll play. I feel like you can't just go in and just do
defined.
side things. You have
yeah.
to go in and
You're
to
missing
progress.
out.
You're missing out a ton. Whereas, like, I do think you could not necessarily miss out on this game by not playing the main quest. Now, is that a good thing? I don't know. Maybe not. But I like that in a way of you can have such different experiences with what you even touch in this game.
I don't know if Oblivion is necessarily better than Skyrim. At least when I first played it, I thought so. Literally every guild in Oblivion is better than every guild in Skyrim. I think the only, if I'm trying to remember correctly, the only guild that I think I like in Skyrim
More like than Oblivion
is maybe the Mages Guild.
I definitely like the Mages Guild more because I just found
Skyrim.
the Mages to be, and I get it. It's probably on purpose, and I kind of like it on principle in the way if you have to go to each city to get their approval to join the Mages Guild.
Right, it's
and
very
stuff like
old
that.
school. It's
It
kind
is
of
very old
nice.
school. No,
And,
it is.
but guess what, Trio? The quests on those routes
Are interesting.
are interesting.
Sure.
I don't
Yeah,
think
sure.
Skyrim,
Yeah.
their quests are not interesting.
There's that one quest
For sure.
where you go in the
Like
guy's
which, like
nightmare.
in general,
like,
you're saying?
remember the Fighters Guild quest in Anvil where...
I hated the Fighters Guild, so I don't really remember.
So
it much.
you go to that old lady's house
There's
and
rats.
she has a
There's
rat
rats.
problem.
Yeah.
And like it's
Those are my rats.
It's simple RPG shit. There's fucking rats in her basement and you have to like get rid of them. And you find out that like there's actually a fucking like cougar down there.
her neighbor's letting in a cougar to
cougar.
Right,
kill
like,
her
rats.
rats.
it's funny. Like it's interesting and like Skyrim's just like yeah. Companions, great example. Do 2 quests for us. You get to become a werewolf.
You're the
now.
man.
Like, I'm just like, what? I'm like, you get to become a werewolf this quick? All I did was go to
you
one
guys really
place.
don't want to do some vetting processes
All
here?
I
What's
did,
going?
all I did with the companions was do a raiding quest for them and come back.
That
That's
I
it.
think the companions are the worst side
It's
quests
so
in my opinion.
boring.
It's boring
It's
and
funny
it's
you
like
say vetting because
Yeah.
that's literally
Literally what they're
notes,
doing.
But it's like there's no vetting. It's all instant gratification. You do what? I don't know how many quests it is particular, but
For
like,
what?
The like just in general, like the companions.
Yeah.
Well,
It's 2 quests.
you
Raiding
do-
quests.
you might
before
do-
you get into it, yeah.
before they make you become
you
a
might
werewolf.
be you might do 5, and then it's like you're the harbinger. What? It's like you don't do.
It's
enough.
much more quickly.
You're the,
it's
the
streamlined
Archmage,
to a degree.
Nightingale, a werewolf, harbinger of the companions so quickly that it's like there's no. I think for the next Elder Scrolls, I would love to see a test, and maybe you don't get accepted. Like if I make a mage character and walk up to the Fighters Guild or whatever it is, I would love to see them like maybe do a skill check or something like that. And send you out on a quest and see how you do.
I'd want to. Well, that's and exactly. No, I think you're right. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So like piggyback off that,
Go
I
off.
do think there is this thing of skill quests.
Yeah.
I don't like. Did those ever exist before?
Yes.
Really, like full on skill
Yes.
quest. Like
What do you mean?
Like
I
I'm a
forgetting
level 95 alteration mage. I go to the guy and he's like, "Hey,
Yes.
I have a quest for you. You can only do this
Absolutely.
because
And it's,
you're
like,
at this level."
interesting.
And it's interesting, and
Yeah.
you get a cool alteration piece of magic or that you could not get otherwise, or something like
in
that.
Morrowind, if like any of the houses, any of the factions, you would reach anyone could join from the beginning.
Yeah.
But you would get to like let's say rank of I don't know, pick a mage rank, whatever.
Yeah, like not archmage.
Yeah.
That's a big one. But
whatever.
Yeah.
But you would have to have
Initiate.
you would have to have conjuration of 50, destruction of 50, or something like that.
No, I think that makes sense.
That's a
And
great-
the
I
rank
think you hit the
structure in
nail
Oblivion was
on the
not
head.
clear. Like, you know, especially with like the fighters, like with all of them, they were like, "Oh, you're an initiate now. You're a
Myrmidon in the
right." I'm like,
fighting
it was
guild.
such more like it was just way more cooler.
I think what we're talking about here is getting down to it is they I still love the later. I know they have their issues. Even Fallout 4. I get it. I do enjoy that game for what it's worth. It comes down to this thing. They are trying to streamline these things to
Yeah.
its detriment. And I do think they got a lot of pushback, especially on Fallout 4, Fallout 76 for different reasons that just was launched incompletely.
absolutely.
But you saw people pushing back against, no, I don't want a simplified dialogue thing.
Yes.
The skill
don't even
system
want a
is
voice
I don't want a
Yeah.
voice protagonist. I'm really hoping that they have the wherewithal to look at these things and realize that people do want a more hardcore,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, experience.
I think Witcher does a good job of doing that. And Witcher, I don't think is an easy game at all. I think there's a lot of like pretty complex systems in that game that are
potion making alone.
kind
like,
of required almost, especially at a higher difficulties. But and the thing with like Witcher is like every quest is like really interesting and really in depth.
I think
I
that
agree
might-
to a degree.
That's a Witcher thing,
and it
though.
has been a while since I played, so
Yeah.
forgive me for that. But like I remember like Witcher's quests, I'm like these are so interesting.
I like
all these
the
people.
only thing I remember was, like reaching out to me on certain Witcher quests was they were just very fetch questy sometimes. It's just like go get this
Go
thing to
kill
bring it
this
back
thing,
here,
yeah.
and then but I agree. it takes
I mean,
a lot for me
that's what Skyrim feels like for me.
And no, Skyrim, there
As I'm
definitely is a lot
replaying
of that too. And but
Yeah.
I think that gets away with it because it's a game from 2011, and like that's a game that kind of did start a lot of the trends within, for better or for worse, within RPGs that we have
agree.
now. So
yeah, Skyrim is definitely like one of the most
it's a forebearer, and like you can
important
say
games of all
yeah.
time.
I was thinking about this on the drive here. I think if I met someone who never played any video game, whether they be old or young, if they never played a game and wanted to try something big and serious, I would give them Skyrim just because it's so accepting. It's like very welcoming. It's like there's that old lady. She's got to be what 70 that streams and she
The
plays
Skyrim,
yeah. It's like that's so it's so heartwarming that someone could walk in and do this. But then for the fans, you need something with meat. I want meat.
Even if they gave options for these more hardcore elements
they try to do survival mode and it's always bad.
Yeah.
Why don't you just like institute a survival mechanic in the whole game and not make it an option?
No, I agree.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like brutal.
That would have to
And
be
also,
very tailored.
Well, but that's
and that's kind of what I would like them to do. Like, take the time to like really like flesh this system
and I
out
keep
so
bringing
it's
it back
not
up.
bad.
I think Red Dead hits the perfect level of immersion without making the game annoying for me. Where I have to worry about what I'm wearing in certain climates, where I have to make sure I'm feeding my character, make sure I'm taking care of my mount.
Right.
Like I'm doing, and like I go to take a bath because it makes my character stamina work better. Not because you don't have to. You don't have to go do that, but you will see these pluses come your way for that, for being more. Exactly. For doing these things. And I think I keep saying it, but I want those immersive situations within that. I think that's how you step this up on top of just the nitty-gritty gameplay and leveling systems.
Fred, you kind of brought up difficulty, and I think every Elder Scrolls game, every Fallout game has probably some of the worst difficulty scales in gaming.
Because they just make it
Oblivion
spongier.
has it
Right. Like I'm playing on expert, and sometimes like it's so funny with mage characters, dude. Like sometimes you'll run into people and you will get one shot.
Yeah, they'll just.
Or you'll be sitting there like this, doosh, for 2 minutes, run out of stamina, drink a potion, and their health bar went down this much.
That's why I always play these games
when
on
you're
easy.
playing on like
personally.
legendary. I'm like, there's no point. They need to like really sit down with their difficulties and be like, maybe we lessen it up and we just make it like scale better.
They need to go beyond just adding health. And you know what's funny?
And being one-shotted.
When I was playing the Mafia, the Definitive Edition, that's on the hardest difficulty. Like I'm getting shot 2 times and dying. And I'm shooting the guys 18 times and they're standing there and not even flinching. I'm like, no, make them die. Like if it's a realistic difficulty, if I die in 2 shots, they should also die in 2 shots.
That's how I would do it. Have me, like if I'm a mage, it should be a skill check on him if he could take a fireball to the face. You know what I mean? I know I'm not going to take a sword to the face. Like make it a one shot. You know what I mean? Make it a check. If this dude's got enchanted gear, like give a character enchanted gear. If I walk up and he's resistant to lightning, that should be the check. You know what I mean? Not that he's going to walk up, kill me, and I have to hit him with 900 spells plus 6 summons.
And then drink like 7 potions.
Well, and it's funny because you can
eat.
It's
like
funny. How did you
pies
guys ever use like the resist magic and resist fire potions and things
that's
like
also
that?
another thing I noticed. That was one of my points of like how alchemy and the potions, how bogged down that whole inventory screen is with potions, because poisons and resistances don't really seem to matter all that much.
I never use them. I always saw.
I use them for the sake of having them, and all right.
And even like when you are,
I gotta get it out of my inventory.
If you're attacking an enemy, you can't really know if they're using shock resistance or anything.
That's a whole nother problem.
So that's the thing. Maybe you had something in their
like an icon.
Within there.
Yeah.
And again, I do think that speaks to how old this game. I know, like it's a 12-year-old game, so I do think. For the time, this was legitimately groundbreaking. I mean, it's still rocks. I do say all of this in love, and I maybe not necessarily we all are, but I just think there is a lot you can learn from this game, and
that's exactly what my initial incarnation of this podcast is.
It's a beautiful study. Like it's
a great game. Like I'm not saying it's bad. I think anyone who like definitively thinks Skyrim's a bad game is incorrect.
You don't get it.
I just think objectively you can't say that.
Yeah.
Like you really
exactly.
you can't just be.
Skyrim has done so much for the RPG genre and games in general that you are wrong. Factually, objectively, you're wrong.
Now you can
Skyrim's a really
not
important
think it
game.
is, and like
Skyrim is up here, and just it's like every flaw just brings it a tick down, and you say like, oh well, there's no consequences to the story, which I want to touch on a little bit later, but it's like there's all these things that bring it lower and lower and lower, and it's like, now what's the point? Like, if I want something that's a real RPG story, what's the point of playing Skyrim? I'll play something better. I'll play a BioWare.
I don't know though.
There definitely are better story games
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure, but when this game came out,
Oh,
RPG wise, were there like what?
Mass Effect 2?
But again, I feel like
when
that's on a
was,
totally
Dragon
like
Age?
that is a sci-fi.
Dragon
story.
Age was before Skyrim.
Yeah,
For
the
sure,
first
but
one.
again,
Dragon
like
Age
was that like,
Origins.
but and that did well, but like I'm sorry, it didn't hit a Skyrim
No,
level.
it's
It didn't,
not. It's
like I
Nothing will.
I think I do think the story is good enough in this, especially for the time going back. I enjoy it. I do, but do I think it could be better? Or
Just
do I think
passable,
it? But
in my opinion.
but like, what would make it like? What's the thing that makes it so
There's-
much better? I guess.
Here's the issue with Skyrim. They're telling the Civil War story, and at the same time they're telling the Dragonborn story, and they never come together.
There's no.
Well, they do at the
connection.
one point, but that's it.
That's
and
it.
And it's really unless you finish it off before too. So
Yeah,
if you take care of the war before you even start the Dragonborn quest, it
I
has
think they
nothing to do
had.
with it.
I think it was a great idea, but I think it does not work at all. There would be no reason why any character besides a Nord would ever side with the Stormcloaks.
Well, the Stormcloaks, I think, are very flawed in general. They're Nord supremacists.
Yeah.
And not even the Nords agree with
But
them.
I have a question.
And they're not
Why
the
would-
good guys.
But why would you ever side with Caesar's Legion?
well, one,
They're the bad guys.
I mean,
they're
you-
slavers.
Right, but like, I don't think you're siding with the Caesar's Legion because you think they're right.
But do you think? But like, I'm
think
not. Whenever I sided with the Nords, I didn't side with them because I think they're right. I wanted to see that side of the quest.
well,
True.
You know what I mean?
In a
So
video
I
game
think there's
perspective,
always
yeah.
going to be an objectively bad guy on the side of those things.
It's like that. It's like the look. Like if you look at it from a whole, it's like, okay, either I want to be a Viking or a Roman.
Sure.
But then when you take the what do they call that?
Magnifying glass.
When you take the magnifying glass and look a little bit more, you walk in the Windhelm and they say, "This dirty dark elf, this bitch is a spy." Why would I want to see dark elves enslaved?
No, I
mean,
know, but
really.
again, but that's what I'm saying. But like, I think that's the same with Caesar Legion. Why would you want to be a part of that thing at all? They're slaving people. They're like, I
I'm
do.
not.
So like,
No,
I think
yeah.
You're
I
right,
guess
I'm not
like that's what I'm
defending
saying.
it.
I'm just saying like. I agree with you. You're
Plain-
right. Why
plain
would
because
I
they're
ever?
funny.
It would actually be cooler if I went in there as a dark elf and they're like, "Get the fuck out."
That- yeah,
Like and so
Right,
that's
right.
the weird thing that I can be a dark elf.
And here's
You
the
can
here's,
be
the-
that.
here's the
That's-
funny thing about Skyrim. They sell the Stormcloaks as the good guys,
good
in my
guys
opinion.
from the beginning.
Right, and they're not. But the Imperials
Are not.
are sold as the bad guys. They aren't. You know them if you've played Oblivion. You know the Imperial Empire. They're not bad. They're put in a very awkward situation because of the White Gold Concordant.
Sure.
Yeah.
And General Tullius and like the Imperials are not bad. They're not bad people.
What would you say
They-
sets them up as the bad guy at the beginning? That you
The
are
fact
going to
that
be
they're
about to get killed.
That's,
They're
so that's
executing you.
But like, that doesn't necessarily for me literally make. I guess I see what you're saying. You're right because it's setting them up as the guys who are
Right.
going to
Oh,
kill
these
you.
are executing
But
you?
after that,
Bad.
you can literally go
Ulfric
to either.
Stormcloak's with you? Good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's one of he's one of you.
Yeah.
Well, but but again, the Nord again. I do think there's more gray to that than once you start to realize. Once you start going through, then you get to Windhelm and you realize, oh no, these guys are pieces of shit.
I think-
and
and
even like,
See, I don't
Yeah.
think I realized that when I was a kid.
Yeah. no
oh
one did.
really? Okay.
I don't think I realized.
I was like, oh, these guys are racist pieces of
replaying
shit.
it and being older and a little more, a little more wiser than I was 10 years ago. And I'm just like, yeah, they're Nord supremacists.
They're
like,
Viking-
that's what they
Yeah.
are.
When you were
but
a
like
kid, it
to
was
a
Viking
very
or Roman.
nth degree, like
Yeah.
they're really racist.
Yeah.
yeah.
They have
And-
all the dark elves in a gray quarter.
But they're also
and-
being
yeah.
racially or religiously persecuted too. It's which doesn't make
But
up for being racist.
They're only
But-
they're only there because the Thalmors are racist.
Exactly.
Not
So
the
that's what I
Empire.
mean. I do
The
think
Empire-
it's
See,
there are
you're-
levels here.
This goes
You're-
into one of my
It's
great
either
points.
shadow government controlling the empire or overtly racist dominated by a guy who you don't know whether or not he killed a guy in cold blood or
Yeah.
not because he failed in a duel. For
sure.
But
But again, I don't think it's as black. Like the
this-
It's
Empire
not,
are
it's not.
supporting the Thalmor in order to stop another war from
I
happening.
want to bring up one of my points, which is that I think Bethesda does a really bad job of telling you the story of their world in Skyrim.
in the world,
But did you guys not? I'm so confused because I feel like I very much understood all this when they were trying to like explain this. Like it's like the Thalmor are pieces of shit as well as
Right.
the Stormcloaks.
Right.
The Empire is
In a rock and a hard place.
Is in a rock and a hard place. They either have to fight the
They're
Stormcloaks
very
who
weak.
are very easy and they
Yeah.
can take right out their little army, or the Thalmor. I guess we're gonna have to stick with the Thalmor. You know what I mean?
I think and not to jump on your point.
No,
but
no.
One of my points that I wrote down here was
We're having a very passionate
there's
conversation.
there's no
You guys are wrong. I'm right. No, I'm sorry. Continue.
there's no consequences. So with both of the sides of the table,
I agree with that.
If I pick a Stormcloak, I don't see any repercussions in the
Within
world.
the world.
You shouldn't see elves walking around. You shouldn't see these type. It should be Nords everywhere, even though you can't really tell just by looking between
it's true.
a Brett and an Imperial and a Nord. But it's
You kind of
like,
can.
They need to
Sometimes.
make it that step further. Like we're saying with you can't accept dark elves into
Yeah.
that, then you
You
have
should
to be a
see-
Nord to get into,
You
or
should
even
see
like an
drones.
Imperial.
Right.
Whatever.
It doesn't make any sense that you would be accepted as a Stormcloak as anything else but
Besides
a
a
Nord.
No, and so, sorry. continue.
No.
Yeah.
But
I wanna hear it
that
all.
breaks
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
If
No,
Right,
I agree.
they can't
that's
lock
that's
you
a fair.
out.
That's a
Or
totally
maybe
fair
they
story
could.
point.
Maybe they'll be like, yeah, if you're not a Nord, you're locked
Well,
out.
and it's
do
funny because you
lock
never
out.
see.
They should.
Yeah, they should.
They should.
And even like with the Caesar's Legion ending, you never see the aftermath of
Yeah.
that.
And you know
Caesar's
what sucks
Legion
about
ending.
Caesar's
You-
Legion? It's not as well developed as the others.
No, it's not. It just ends. Right?
Yeah, it's really bad.
I think we could all agree on this. Skyrim could have done with a yes
Sonic
man.
has the same problem.
Well, Skyrim could have done with a yes man ending, like not both, not either.
The new what's the middle
A,
option?
Yeah.
a different option,
Right.
maybe with
my
Nor-
own.
The
my own
Dragonborn
option.
leads.
Yeah,
leads. No,
right,
no, yeah,
right.
no.
Like a
It would have been
united-
nice to see, and I know what you mean, like
A
an
yes man
alternate, some
option.
type of
Yeah.
way to not necessarily take the middle, but a third option of some kind.
Because
Yeah.
you're either having
That was my issue with Fallout 4, especially with like between the Brotherhood and the Railroad.
Yeah, what's the point?
What the fuck? Like, why do I have to? I have to wipe out the Railroad?
No,
Like,
I know, it
There's
is
no,
so true.
option.
please. I don't
well,
want to.
so what? Like once, so if you choose, you mean once you choose like the Brotherhood, right? You,
You
have to wipe out the.
wipe out the Railroad.
The
No
only one you
Not even a
cannot
speech
do that
check.
with is when you're like the Minutemen, right? Because they don't make you take out. Can't you have that
I don't
ending
even
or something?
I don't even
even
recall.
remember.
Again,
I don't
that's-
recall.
You might be
That's
right.
another. I think you're right in these ways. I think they have good setups. I do think that they do set up these things where I understand them, and I like the conflict of where the Empire is at. And
Right.
they're just like Gooch said, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. But you need the payoff.
Yeah.
You need to even if I'm midway through the game, all right, Stormcloaks are in charge. There's some shit going down now.
You see
like they're-
droves of elves getting round up,
or
and put
or
somewhere,
after the end
and I
after
mean,
the end of like you win as the Imperials, Stormcloaks are being round up still.
Yeah.
There's wanted signs for Stormcloaks around still. Like there's ways to do that. I agree with that.
Well,
1,000%.
I think same on this point. Just to jump into a faction, when you do the Dark Brotherhood, you kill the Emperor.
Yeah.
The end of
It
the
is so canon breaking that you kill Titus
end
Meade
of
II.
the quest.
It's
You
wild.
kill the Emperor. You should not be an Imperial and walk in and kill the Emperor. Fake his death. Do something.
It's going to be interesting to see what is actually canon
They're not-
from the Dark
yeah,
Brotherhood.
yeah.
Like, there's no way it's canon.
Why is that?
Because you're killing the Emperor. Like,
You
in the
would
Dark
call-
Brotherhood.
yeah.
It doesn't really make
You
much
would
sense.
cause such a power struggle and such a vacuum
Yeah, but-
that you would essentially crack Cyrodiil and make it a Thalmor state.
Fred,
if they
you
use-
set me
Sure.
up. I wanted to talk about the lore and how weird it is and how badly described it is, like I was talking about, because of what happens after the Oblivion Crisis. Is okay. Remember, Ocanto, the high elf guy? He becomes the leader of the Imperial Empire. He's
Gotcha.
the potentate.
Okay.
He gets assassinated, and after that, there is a constant struggle between who should lead the Imperial Empire, and essentially what happens is. Another family, they're a Clovian warlord, not race, but family
Yeah.
called the Medes. And but the Empire is never powerful after Septim.
Yeah.
They never come back in the way
They're
they
a
do.
skeleton,
So that's where
essentially.
the Thalmor come in, and they're like,
They try to pull-
there was the Dark Knights, and the
strings.
suns were gone, or sorry, the moon were gone for a while. Don't know why.
Nice.
Both moons gone. The Khajiit, like their
Freaking out.
society
Yeah.
is like revolves around the moon. The moons come back. Thalmor take credit, and the Argonians and the Khajiit pull out of the Empire because of that.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're weakened. So the Thalmor are kind of over like 150 years, are building up this power based on nothing,
Yeah.
and contesting the Imperial Legion. Or the Imperial Empire, and they're just fucking like, we have
Yeah.
we cannot do shit. We have no power. Like
We're having infighting within our own empire.
Weakened
Yeah.
right now that we can't do anything, and that's where the Great War happens, which they talk about a lot, and they don't really tell you what is it about, but it's the Thalmor versus the Empire and the other nations joining in. And essentially what happens is the Thalmor stick it to the Empire. The Empire wins in a few places, but the Thalmor attack
strong.
the Imperial city, and they're like, you surrender, you sign the White Gold Concordant, or we're going to kill
you blow
all
up.
of you.
Yeah.
You're done. So they sign the White Gold Concordant. They outlaw Talos as a god. And it's like essentially the Thalmor are running the Imperial government. And I'm like, I don't think they don't explain all of this well enough. Because I don't think I really understood when I was first playing what was going on. I watched a lot of lore videos. Imperial Knowledge's channel on YouTube, like tons of lore stuff.
Yeah.
How old was I?
Yeah,
we were in high school.
Yeah, so like I don't think anyone.
I guess I didn't feel the need to know that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel like the game was about.
I think it just provides much more context to.
No,
what's
now
going
that you're
on.
saying that, I'm like, I was sitting here just like, ooh, that
and then
sounds interesting.
Ulfric fought in that war.
Yeah.
And and a lot of people are disillusioned by that war, disillusioned that the Empire lost, and that is why Ulfric
tried to do his thing.
Does what he does because he feels like he needs to.
Yeah.
Because the Nords are now being bullied by the Thalmor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's not really the Imperials' fault. It's really the fact that the Thalmor are racist.
But again, you're getting back. So I do feel like I did understand.
And then the
whole
incident in Markarth
the broad
happens
points that you just said, I feel like I did understand when I was younger. Again, that the Imperials are in a rock and a hard place. They can't risk going to war with these people again because of something. I didn't know specifically why. They keep mentioning the White Gold Concordant.
Yeah, which they do mention that.
They mention that, I feel like, a lot. But
you walk not that.
No, go.
But like, just to go for your point too, you walk into Whiterun and you hear the guy talking about Talos, and then you almost want to know.
I do. Like, I don't know. Looking back, I do think they do a semi-well job, at least in telling me what's happening in the story, and I'm understanding why these things are happening.
To get through the game.
Exactly.
Enough.
Would I like a little, now that you're mentioning all this stuff, I'm like, oh, it would be nice, but that doesn't really seem like the game that they were trying to, the story they were trying to focus on. It was the Dragonborn stuff. And then, that war kind of was secondary. I guess that's where they should have been really kind of...
Primarily secondary.
Primarily secondary. I think that's where they should have been explaining more of that stuff like that. But again, I do feel like I understood those broad strokes.
Yeah, and see, I just find it interesting, and Elder Scrolls 6, we're gonna have run into the same issue because what's the time jump they're gonna take?
Who's
for that?
writing?
I feel like they seem to do a new
jump?
era each time, right?
No,
have there been two set in the same era?
is in the third era.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that is a question. Did the fourth era end with the slaying of Alduin? We don't know yet, and they actually say it in Oblivion that the Oblivion Crisis ends the third age. They explicitly say that. So it's going to be curious once we get to Elder Scrolls 6. Now we have another possible big gap of history. What happens?
But speaking to your point of
and then what is canon?
I think having it cause more ruckus with it. Again, it's these weird things of did you hear the Emperor was murdered? You know what I mean? But I do think they can. I think that will be canon. That the Dark Brotherhood killed Titus Mead 1,000% within the next one, and I think that they're going to put in that. I think that's going to be part of the history of the. I would assume, anyways.
So you think the Stormcloaks won?
So does that mean that they win?
I would think so.
Yeah, I mean,
with their, the Thalmor would have to come in and institute more of a control over the Empire.
But you'd assume that there would be a succession, they don't have a successor for the Emperor. I don't think that would cause, I don't see that causing the army to go into a stir as to
there's no
because it seems like the
leadership.
Thalmor.
It's
seems
an
like
army.
the Thalmor.
There needs to be a head.
But isn't that but again, I feel like I would assume I would assume that there would be a line of succession set up already. So then it kicks to that other person. The Thalmor already. The Emperor is doing what they want them to do. I don't see that they already basically are ruling them from what you just told me. So I don't see them attacking them then because of that. I just see Titus Mead. It goes down in the history book. Mead was attacked. His successor takes the throne, and then I think Tullius probably still took care of things in that intermediate. But I don't know.
These are the type of things where you need a solid writer because to us it doesn't make sense. If the Dark Brotherhood, if you're an Imperial soldier, you kill the Emperor, and he lets you kill him. He tells you he says a few words, and he says, "Kill me. It's fine." And unless you have a solid writer writing this. you create a power vacuum. You don't know if there's a line of succession. Do the Thalmor come out like in droves and actually just take over the Empire? You don't really know.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself then.
But are they allowing you to make that up in your head until like see
It's
that's
possible.
not something I'm like now that you're mentioning it I do kind of want to know.
Yeah.
But in the moment
exactly.
I'm sitting there I kind of accepted it and I didn't even really kind of consider that at all.
Right.
I do accept or not accept. I do concur though with the idea of like it's weird that you're going to be a soldier now, especially after they saw your face a lot, and like there's like he definitely told some people.
It's weird. You just
and that's
killed
why
the
I would
Empire.
like to see some immersive things in the way of, do I have a face covering on my character? Does that affect how someone talks to me? Does that affect how they can even know me or something like?
And maybe that's a system they can institute into the Dark Brotherhood, into the Thieves Guild.
That's what I would like to see in the future. Yeah, disguise.
Like they do it with Red Dead.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You pull up your. They
Pull
don't.
up the
I
mask.
still think that system's a little broken in certain ways, but yes, bring in that
Immersion.
immersive. I'm wearing a mask. They can't see my face. But guess what? If he saw me without my mask, he tells the Imperial Legion, I'm now out of the Legion. I can't join it anymore.
Well,
something like that.
The sad thing too, though, is the point is moot because when you follow the quest, you disguise as the chef.
Exactly. So they would see you. Yeah. So exactly.
That Argonian guy was the chef, and then that. No. I'm saying like let's just say your character was an
It's
Argonian.
like, oh wait, no, it's the chef.
There was an Argonian who poisoned the stew, walked out, and then we knew it was him. So you know what I mean? Like it causes all these flaws, but then it goes back to what's canon and what's not, and we don't know.
And I think it's funny. They didn't seem to have this much of an issue going. I mean, really, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim are the main three we're talking about.
Yeah.
They didn't really have that issue going from Morrowind to Oblivion. There wasn't that much time. Septim was still Emperor in Morrowind. So I don't know how long. I think it's like a 30 or 40 year jump.
It's not a
after
long
3.
time.
It's not long because again, Uriel Septim the 7th is still Emperor.
It's true, and he sent to Nerevar. He was the one who sent you there.
Right. Like so, but now we literally jump 200 years. And it's like, okay, like, are we going to do the same kind of jump again? Like, I wouldn't mind the error ending, but I think I would. I think they would be in such another weird situation of like, how do we like, we have 200 years of lore to write in again. How are we going to do this? And what's the next story going to be?
Yeah.
You know, what are we going to revolve around in the
You don't
next
even know
story?
location. You could
Right.
go.
There's
that's a big
literally
hinge.
no possible way we could sit down and have an actual theoretical, like a logical theoretical conversation about what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be about because we just don't fucking know.
Well, that's the but I do think the writers there hopefully I think they could come up with those big points of 200 years of history. But again, like how much of
Does
the
it
Witcher's
matter?
how much of the
It
history
does.
of the Witcher matters to the Witcher 3 when you're playing it? Like the broader context, like you learn everything you need to learn through the game.
I think
that
The
broader
Witcher
context.
tells you so well. To me, I mean,
But
I'm not
but
a
again,
Witcher
because
fan.
that's because
as long as
most
the
of-
game is communicating all that stuff to you well.
But again, I
think
felt
I'm
like
fine.
that. I don't know. Then this is me. I felt like they did in Skyrim.
Yeah,
they
I
communicated all that stuff very well to me.
I'm kind of. I think it's kind of interesting that you picked up more than I did, especially somebody who's like not.
And again, I have played it maybe more than you for sure.
Well,
So
let me-
I don't know.
Let me put it like this.
in the span of 10 years,
For sure.
So I only absorbed a certain amount
within
when
that
when
time.
I played it.
But yeah, maybe me playing through a few times, maybe go like, oh, that's the white
Right.
concordant, and
Yeah.
now I'm understanding.
Picking out different
Like where
ideas.
I feel like they only need to come up with as much as that backstory as it has to do with the quests and the story at hand.
Because it's kind of funny. I thought like when I first played Skyrim, like all the high elves were part of the Thalmor.
Yeah,
no,
they're not-
that's
yeah.
not true at all.
No, yeah.
And I don't think I really understood that. I thought like, oh, like now the high elves are all like evil and racist.
They're
and
all
it's like
bad,
that's
yeah.
not really
It's
true.
not true.
at all.
No, yeah.
I mean,
I
same
don't
with the
think-
Nords.
I don't
a lot of
think,
Nords
Are
side
totally
with
normal.
the
Yeah.
Empire.
Yeah.
I don't think Bethesda really does timelines well though, because
Sure.
think of this: Winterhold fell 80 years ago. Now the biggest, it's like I think it's like 80
literally
days.
fell. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's why
Yeah.
the mages college is only there, right?
Right, and they
Now,
talk about that.
If you're telling me that the biggest magical college in all of Skyrim, where now there's Legion, Thalmor, all these different sects of people are now in Skyrim, that they didn't rebuild in 80 years, at least a little bit down the mountain, besides 2 shacks and, you know what I mean, a burnt down house.
Sure. Well,
Literally.
but I feel like the idea, like, see, I took that as that town's dying and these people are just hanging around.
See, but
So and they don't like and no one wants to rebuild around the college because what if they do that shit again?
that is true.
and the whole continent does not trust the mages.
No,
Yeah.
like a lot of Nords don't like magic. Yeah,
It's a
I don't
good-
know. That doesn't necessarily. I don't mean to.
No,
I
no.
see what you're saying, though. That's a fair point.
I agree. Obviously, there's hate for the mage, the College of Winterhold.
Hate for the mage.
But
Hate for the mage.
it's like you go from like this small piece of land that fell down.
Yeah.
Like you don't think that they would at least build a little bit more downward?
So you know
like,
what my issue is with the whole College of Winterhold thing is? Why aren't we talking about that? What happened? Like, why isn't that part of the... Like, I would actually like to... I guess, again, you kind of want background information.
what crumbled? Like,
But,
what
like, why...
happened?
Like, could we maybe
Or
get
even
some more
Riften.
information
why is
on, like,
Riften
why...
such a cesspool? Like, and
'Cause that's where the Thieves
they
Guild
only
was.
tell you it's like, oh, the Thieves Guild, but the Thieves Guild is dying.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
it's,
but
and
that's
we know about
where,
Maven Blackbriar.
Sure, but that's where it's set up first, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's the
Right.
idea. So it's always been kind of the seedier town.
Den of Thieves.
Yeah.
Right,
Thieves'
right.
Den.
But like, I almost feel like I'm like, well, but the Thieves Guild is apparently not doing really well.
Well, not anymore. So you'd think that it would get cleaned up a little bit more.
Right,
Sure.
or the Empire or the Stormcloaks would come in and kind of reestablish some order in the city, but they don't. Maven Blackbriar fucking runs
Riften's
it.
one that took a hit from the lore as well. There was supposed to be, I think it was Riften. Now, don't quote me. But
Quote him. No.
Fucking line him up.
It was one of the three. It was either Markarth, Riften, or Solitude. But one of them was supposed to have a Thume college, a college where they taught the dragon language. Now this is lost,
which makes sense.
but if it was Riften, which I believe it was, this town would have been once again a big
Sprawling,
college town. You know what I mean? It's these things that like they came up with all these nice ideas. Said, Riften's a town with thieves in it, so let's make it a seedy town. Yeah, well, why wouldn't the Dark Brotherhood be there if the thieves can hide there? Like, you know what I'm saying?
but I hear you. I think we're kind of getting into splitting hairs here a tiny bit. But I would love to see. I would love to know how much of this was technologically driven versus like, because I feel like they would look back and look at that lore and be like, "Fuck, I want to make Riften like this. I want to make
agree.
it." And I do think the unfortunate or fortunate, whatever you want to call it, change up of having the thumb be a major player in this game makes it so they want to make you the only. They don't want a college because then that makes you less special.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And do I necessarily agree with that? No, I kind of
It
wish they
ruins the
did.
fun.
But it ruins that kind of thing of. And maybe that we get back to this thing of
Yeah.
maybe you don't need to be the chosen one. Maybe that does take away from things. That is why they're trying to make you the chosen one by making you more special and not having.
And,
And,
you know,
I feel like that school was almost substituted up at High Hrothgar. Like that's where they were, I guess, teaching people.
Yeah,
before.
I mean, Ulfric goes there, and they kind of gloss over that Ulfric knows how to use the Thume.
Yeah.
He used
And like
it to kill the guy, and
they
that's
tell
it.
you, but like it's like, well, like how exactly did he? Why did he? How could he?
He can
do
learn.
that?
You can again.
Anyone can learn it. That's the
And even,
whole-
but that's what the Greybeards say that like you're up the top. They're like like anyone can learn the Thume, but you have to. It takes years, and because again, they're just regular Nords.
Yeah.
But they
Right,
learn
They're not
how to
mystical power.
Yeah,
Right.
And even I don't know if you. I guess you don't have to be a Nord. You can literally just learn.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah,
no,
clearly.
I do take that point. But I like I said, I would love to know how much of that was technologically driven versus they were like, no, we just want to change this up because we
Yeah.
don't like the way
That
this
is-
lore was written out. And I wonder who originally wrote. I assume it would be a developer of something.
I mean,
yeah.
like this
There's a
lore is
guy-
coming from like Arena and like
That's what I'm saying. So like this
Yeah.
was some guy, and it's not that it makes it any less cool, but he was like, we need you to write the backstory for the Nords, and he's like, all right, I got you.
Right.
And then he wrote,
I'm just coming up with something.
and I do like that he actually at least took his broad strokes, or whoever it was, he, she.
I
whoever.
mean,
But-
and this is the issue with writing a series for like a certain amount of time, especially we run into games. I mean, I'm
All the
sure
time.
the Lord of the Rings has had its moments with the books and stuff.
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
like retconning and contradicting points, and like I know World of Warcraft has a ton of issues with
Yeah.
this, especially through comics, manga. Books, like whatever. It's like
everything.
different writers coming in. It's like, oh shit, that contradicts like what this said, and it's like,
Yeah.
what's true, what's canon.
I mean, look at fucking Star Wars right now.
Yeah,
like,
that
it's
is true.
like it's just 8 different ideas like that. But no, it's just interesting to me. I'd be curious
all
to
these
see what it
different-
is. Yeah.
Kind of jumping out of the lore a bit. There is another point, and I think this is easy to talk about, especially if you've played both Oblivion or Skyrim recently.
Let's go.
Voice acting.
Oh,
They need just more people.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Skyrim.
It's getting stale.
Sorry, Oblivion is like 7 people.
no, it is.
Yeah.
It does feel like
And even Skyrim, I'm like, it's Susan Eisenberg who voices Wonder Woman, like a lot as Nord as females,
Yeah.
Nord
and like
female.
you're hearing like the same people over and over and over and over again.
especially like
You get away
specific
with-
things like a bard and things like that
Yeah.
where you're hearing
It's like
every
how many
kind
times
of,
do I got to hear Hrothgar the Red by the same guy?
and that's
in
what I'm saying.
every-
It would be
every
kind of
bar.
fine
Yeah.
if it was only Hrothgar the Red and there was 10 different people singing. There was a different person singing it at each
Right.
whatever.
And I'm
But
like, you don't need to get skilled
Guys.
voice actors in there. And I'm like,
People.
you can get
Just give
one
them,
person, and they can do 3 different voices, but like let those 3 different voices be very different from each other, and have the one guy do I don't know, the Jarl of the mayor of one city, and then he's the Argonian male. And
that's the thing. That's what I feel like they can't do. And they tend to avoid. But usually the people who are playing the main people of like you don't hear the graybeards again.
The guy who plays,
Max von Sydow is Esbern.
Yep. And like you don't hear him as another character.
Right.
Certain character like
Sean
even
Bean is Martin,
which is still fucking blows my mind.
Patrick Stewart is Uriel. So
yeah, I mean that's still my favorite.
He's got 3 lines and dies.
Yeah. I would like to see them do more of that with certain and I don't know, like certain shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have them be an individual voice.
Right,
I don't want to hear that voice anywhere else.
I would take lesser known voice actors.
Right, you don't need,
and I think
you don't need Troy Baker and fucking Ashley Birch and what's her face? Who's the female?
I can't remember. I know you're talking
married
about
to Travis Willingham. What's her name?
I can't remember.
Bailey, Laura Bailey.
Laura Bailey, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't need Laura Bailey's fucking Serana. Like,
I do feel like though Bethesda has enough. At least again, we haven't gotten a game from them in a while. They haven't fallen into that trap of getting these.
Do you remember Fallout being better about that? Like Fallout 4? I'm trying to think.
I think so.
I think it is.
I think it's better in the way of
you see
more
people.
individualistic choices.
Yeah, true.
Fallout, you see less people. A lot of it's super mutants. Every super mutant sounds the same, and we don't.
That's
really
true,
complain.
but like when you're going to settlements, I at least I don't know. There might be the exact same ones.
There's the
but
guy
I
who
can't
does
remember
like
specifically.
Sheogorath, and he does Sheogorath. These
Lucian
races,
LeChance in Oblivion.
There are certain characters,
and the guy
that
who does he plays Maven in this, Maven Blackbriar, but he's also he's
She.
No, I'm sorry, not Maven. I'm sorry. Who's the original leader of the Thieves Guild in this?
Robin Atkin Downs, you mean?
Is that him? He plays what's his name? Nick Valentine too in Fallout 4.
Oh, you mean Delvin Mallory?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not Delvin Mallory.
No, you're right. You're spot on.
Am I right?
Delvin. Yeah.
Okay, so Brynjolf is played by Robin Atkin Downs,
Yeah.
and he's
I didn't know that.
he does a lot of small roles. Kazuhira Miller, a lot of small voices, a lot of big voices, and I'm like, why is he Brynjolf and only Brynjolf?
Yeah.
Not right now, pal. I have things to do. Like that's all I would hear all the time. I
Forever.
have things to do. It's so funny. I didn't beat the Thieves Guild really until like a year after. I didn't realize you had to keep doing those to unlock. I remember someone was like, "Oh yeah, like when you get the Thieves Guild Master Armor." I'm like, "What do you mean the Master Thieves Guild Armor?" He's like, "Well, you need to keep doing that." It might have been you, for God's sake. You need to do all these things. And I was like, "Oh,
You know what?
Fuck.
You know what's funny? Speaking of, we're talking about leaders of the
Thieves Guild.
the factions. Why is Savos Aaron, the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, played by like the generic Dark Elf guy?
I agree.
Like
He should be a specific. That's a perfect
Right,
example.
he's a
He
leader.
should be a
Someone
different person.
known.
Yeah,
Should
Or
be
not,
someone known.
not even necessarily someone known,
different.
but someone that's not all of the other voices.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
You have a select people who are doing select voices
Brynjolf's
for
this one guy, but maybe because he dies, maybe they just don't care because after he's gone, he's gone.
Does he play other voices in it too, Brynjolf, or the guy?
I don't think so.
I feel like he does.
Because
It.
I know
can't
Robin
recall.
Atkin Downs' voice. Like I can spot that through
It's
like
just-
lineup.
Like I said, I would take maybe like the main
And
Uriel Septim as a rich guy.
And the one thing we are talking about here, this is a lot. This is money.
Yeah.
This is like straight.
For sure.
I mean,
No, yeah.
everything we're talking about
It's
is money.
all
But
money.
this is a lot of like you're paying other people to
Yeah.
do
To do it hourly
And
to come in and
You
record,
can't just bring
yeah.
in like your devs anymore to voice people.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you could.
Why
You
not?
could- union.
Oh, okay.
Voice Actors Guild of America.
Okay.
Like voice acting is under
Is
a
it-
union.
Fucking
Yeah.
unions. No.
I mean, like, so
break 'em up.
You can do non-union stuff,
Yeah.
but that means you can't use anyone from the union.
I say go as cheap as you possibly can and get as many low class lower pay rate. Yeah,
right, right. And I'm fine with that. I mean,
What?
No, I
don't-
want lower
I don't
class
think-
people
I don't think-
also voicing.
I don't think
Like,
Villager-
I want them to be below.
You know, I don't think Villager A needs to be Troy Baker.
but a
level.
poor beggar must be a fucking poor
I want
beggar
them to
from
go
off
to
the street.
Kensington.
yeah,
Kensington and Allegheny. I want
Yeah.
my beggar to be that guy.
Yeah. Oh man. But
That's funny.
What is there anything else, Scooch, that you were thinking?
I had house building, and obviously house building gets vastly improved
Within
in
Fallout,
Fallout 4. But here's the thing that Fallout 4 doesn't have that Skyrim has. You don't really make a real house.
You make like a shanty shack. Yeah.
And whatever Elder Scrolls 6 is, and I wanted to talk about the Creation Club too, getting into the player housing that they add and stuff. And maybe we can talk about the Creation Club in general because I think it's a double-edged sword. House building in Skyrim is just limited because placing stuff is such a pain.
Yeah.
So and
you only have certain plots, right?
And in Fallout 4 they fixed
3
that.
plots and 2 of them are stupid.
And I have full confidence in especially from 76's stuff too. In Elder Scrolls 6, the house building will be really cool.
Oh, I agree.
There's
I love
no doubt
how
in my
modular
mind.
that ended up being one of my favorite things from Fallout 4.
Hi-fi?
Even though it was this terrible shanty shack.
Yeah.
Like it was still cool that
I
I
made
made this
shack,
I made a 2-floor house.
Dude,
I had a display
invested
room.
so much time.
I had my garage. It had all of
And I
my
like
power
and
armors
I
in it
like
stacked
setting up my
Yeah.
unique weapons and my unique items that I find and like
This
and
is
like
something that's
placing
going to
them.
be it's going to hinge on Starfield with the shipbuilding.
which off the bat looks cool to me.
It
I
looks
think,
cool.
From the outside in. That
I
looks
agree.
like they're doing the right thing. But yeah,
you would have to think that if they bring in this like building a ship, you're probably going to be able to do interior as well.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
That's just speculation, but
I
this is
couldn't
gonna
imagine. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah.
Getting a house, building it piece by piece, doing indoors, etc.
So for the consoles, I know we have mods, but obviously with consoles we're limited in what
Dry.
mods you can have. And the Creation Club sort of for those who don't know, it kind of officiates mods. So with the anniversary update, you get everything in the Creation Club, and it's pretty much all the cool weapons from Oblivion and Morrowind, some new houses, and you kind of
Couple
get
new quests.
a couple new
a
quest
bunch
lines
good
with
ones.
people just going, okay. Yeah, some generic line here, and some nondescript.
Nondescript line.
And
yeah.
so I'm playing through this content, and I'm getting this content, and I'm like, this is
Thanks.
like I'm. Sometimes modded experiences can be like that, where you're chalking your game full of mods, and like you're either overpowered or you have so much going on and so many random items in your inventory that are like cool, but like you're like it's overpowered and not balanced correctly. So that was kind of what I was learning with the Creation Club, and I'm like, it is like a semi like modded experience. It's adding new stuff, but I don't like the fact that I am using Dustfang and Dawnfang, and
they're different.
and it's like. I don't like the fact that they're bringing in old stuff because nostalgia and divine, the
Crusader's
Knights of
armor.
the Nine stuff. We're bringing that over, but like there's a stupid you can't commit any crimes quest, which is actually kind of cool.
well, that was Oblivion.
Yeah,
same
but
thing in
that's how
Oblivion.
you would do it in Oblivion.
If you did anything in Oblivion,
that you
it
couldn't
would
wear the
fall
armor.
off of you. You'd be stuck there like statue.
spin around and being overcovered, and I'm just kind of like, I don't like how they're just injecting all of this old armor and equipment,
See,
and then I got 7 million fucking houses.
But
I can
that would
choose
annoy
from.
me if that's what Bethesda itself was doing, and they didn't give us 2 new
Well,
DLCs.
it's official.
Right.
It
Like,
is
no,
official.
I get what you're saying, but
Players
but
are
it's
making
official in the
them.
way of Bethesda's going through and giving it its stamp of
Its stamp.
approval. It's not devoting resources to making those
And like
things.
we were talking about at the beginning, there are like great new magic additions. There's a ton of new magic
Necromancy for one.
that kind of fleshes
No,
out.
for
and,
sure.
and new armor sets that look cool, that are immersive. But I'm like, I wish the NPCs weren't just wearing iron and fur and like the same fucking armor sets that all the bandits wear. Why aren't there more wearing glass? And they're like,
well, they do when you. Well, at least the leaders usually are. And stuff
right,
like that,
but I'm like,
it's not,
I just want I want everyone to kind of look different.
You want a
Like,
bit, yeah.
Well, that's
yeah,
also
I want a bit of variety, especially since they added new stuff. I'm like, can't you like go and like change some code that'd be like,
could.
all right,
There was
bandits.
there's some really cool like it's like leather armor almost, but it's got like a
Scout?
scarf and I
it's
really
the
like that
scout
scout
leather
armor.
Yeah, and
A
I'm
lot
like,
of
and
cool
there's
things.
plate stuff. I'm like, this is all great
Like the-
because it's
yeah.
very immersive.
It would be cool to see that more
It's not-
variety on the actual
It's not
NPCs.
intruding
That is
like,
true.
oh, I have all the Shivering Isle stuff now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's
I
kind
got
of like
Jiglag sword.
yeah, and it kind
yeah.
of like intrudes itself and becomes like overpowered gear, and I
Sure.
don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's kind of a double-edged sword when you're modding in general. It's
Yeah,
like
that
you
is
could
true.
like just get like this super powered equipment and like 7 million different player
So
houses.
those are very
and I can't
super
decide
powered,
on
like,
which one I want to do.
Because I thought you had to upgrade that because I got Dawnfang and it sucked. And I had to like
what?
upgrade it and
Oh,
stuff
my-
like that. Because
oh.
that's the like once you like if you
Mine
just
is
get it right off the
incredible.
bat,
See-
it's like but it's like just as good as the other swords that I have.
Here's
like that's
the
the other
flaw.
like just as good as like my Ebony and Daedric. Maybe it's because you can get them so early
Well,
too.
here's
Right.
another thing.
That's
that
the
you're
other
not
thing.
thinking.
Go out of
You
your
can't
way.
just get a Daedric sword right off the bat.
If you go
will.
on the what is it? The unofficial Elder Scrolls Wiki or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you look at these
There's
items,
an official and an unofficial.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
If you go
there
on-
has been for years.
if you go on the unofficial, some of these weapons have no recharge, like don't need any recharge.
Dunsfang and
some-
Dawnfang is
They
one
don't
of
need a
them.
recharge. So I'm going to use, even if it's, let's just say a
Sure,
little
even
weaker.
if it's a lower guy, yeah.
Why would I use something that I have to charge with a soul gem after 100 strikes when I could use Dawnfang and Duskfang that don't need any?
Sure.
The only Creation Club story that I think really
And there are some
flourished-
cool quests, but again, you get the. They're not. None of them
Yeah.
are voiced, which
Well,
is cool.
That's not true.
Well, but
no,
they
no.
use like generic. They don't use like.
They're not voiced. The Creation Club mods are not voiced by
They
other
use,
people.
They recycle lines and
yeah,
stuff.
so it's kind of boring, and I'm like, and then you get then from the couriers coming up and to you and adding shit to your inventory. And
Here's
you do-
8 letters. And
Yeah,
it says
here's
added.
8 letters, items added. What the fuck?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, so literally what I do by the end, I don't. Every time I get a new letter, I drop it.
Drop-
I just be like, get the fuck
That's a
out.
good
As soon as I
idea.
open it later, because then you as soon as you get it, you get the thing.
That's true.
It would just. I had like a bowl in my house that I put. It was
All
just
letters.
a bowl full of letters. that I
Because it's
literally
like-
was just.
It's like book,
Walk into your
book,
house.
Yeah,
letter,
yeah.
letter.
That was one thing I did. I love the bookshelves and stuff. Sometimes they wouldn't work. Again, glitched. But
Yeah.
I did like being able to put all my books
For
on
sure.
a bookshelf
Yeah.
and you can fill it up. I'd actually collect books because of that.
I did the same.
And this is, the Gooch critique. I wish that some mods that actually don't interfere with achievements would not disable achievements.
Yeah, there's
Agreed.
certain like quality of life ones.
Like,
Like
I'm like,
open
dude, like if
cities
this
and
isn't
things
like breaking
that.
the game,
Yeah.
like just like it shouldn't disable achievements.
But
I
then
would-
they'd have to go through and vet every single mod.
Yeah.
But aren't
That's
they
the
like
other
what?
thing.
Like I'm curious what the process is that they're doing. That
With
does-
Creation Club, I think they literally take them and they vet, like they have I'm assuming a Bethesda person look at them and make sure that, okay, this is good code,
Yeah.
this isn't going to fuck with the
They
game.
must have been
Whereas,
renowned
like,
somehow. Like, you know what I
the
mean?
mod thing you seem to just be able to upload to.
Yeah.
And it gives you this whole disclaimer before. It's like, this can fucking break your
Yeah.
game, so be careful. So
This will
I think
screw your save.
I think short of showing like tits and ass and shit like that, they won't take you off of there. But
Fair enough.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, there's some pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
They're
It's
pretty,
hilarious.
Pretty
Yeah.
dirty.
No,
Yeah.
there was one where it just
I was looking
quality
through-
life one, open cities.
Yeah.
You just walk into there's no loading screen to get into a city. You just open the door. and
Yeah,
you're in
right.
that.
It's like
Yeah.
why isn't that just added to the game?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that goes
again, back
to,
in the
yeah.
time, they couldn't do that when
a
they first made the
technical
game.
limitation. That,
Right.
but
No,
think
no,
of
no,
that
no.
now.
I mean, like now, like why
Oh,
doesn't the
oh.
anniversary edition like they added fishing?
Oh,
but like
that-
why
that
don't
would
they
probably
add
take a lot.
open cities?
To just to
I don't
really to
know.
change again.
I
That
think
goes
somebody
into,
can do it in a
that
mod.
goes
They
into
just
the
offici-
nitty gritty
they
of
just
I don't know how
officiate it.
games work. How much of a change up does it do to make it be like, all right, we don't need a load screen here anymore? Because it is really like
Yeah.
you press A, it loads, and you're in
Yeah.
now. Especially with these newer consoles.
Oh, dude, I miss.
Yeah.
I can't look at any of the
No, you
loading screen
can't. No,
tips
it's-
or the move the figures around.
Yeah.
Too fit.
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes back to Bethesda with their spaghetti code. What works? What breaks? Did you guys face any glitches when you were playing? I've had a couple.
Yeah, I was telling you like I had a companion's quest glitch on me. There's a companion that you can get from a quest at like Dark Watch Tower. She's like a
really quick, one thing Skyrim does not do well.
followers.
Companions.
yeah.
I don't care about them at all.
I have 2 more points. One
Yeah.
of them is
the
followers.
Creation Club is a very big problem with that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so followers, like, so there's one follower, if you don't get her to follow you and do something with her, initially, you cannot, like, she'll glitch out. And I'm just like, obviously on PC, you can fix that with console commands, but
Right.
with this, it's just like, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And especially a game that's been out for 10 years and has 7 different re-releases, it's like, you would think they would, like,
Get
patch
these little things.
or even officiate the unofficial
Yeah.
patch that
They should be
every Bethesda game fucking has.
Yeah.
And you can download that on Skyrim. They have an unofficial
Yeah,
patch.
no,
so,
I know.
yeah.
Fred, before I get into
Go
some
for
of
it.
my last ones, do you have any other major points like we didn't go over?
I mean, like I said, I wrote some of these down. Most of it's what we said, like overly refining systems is bad. Make your character ambiguous. I think that's a big point to me. Besides that, Skyrim is like what do they say? Wide as the ocean, deep as a puddle. I think that's the biggest thing that you just got to take away from it. Like, they have to add more. There has to be more meat to this bone because anyone on a passing glance could love it, and I loved it. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I did. Like, there are moments where you'll remember it. Like I was saying earlier.
Absolutely, yeah.
You walk through sometimes at nighttime and there's the 2 moons and the really nice painted sky and the song hits just right. You know what I mean? And you remember those moments. But
soundtrack is definitely, or the OST is definitely something that is always
on point.
good. Skyrim especially, that OST I think is like timeless.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
My only other problem, and we don't have to go deep on this one, but is there any purpose that anyone's ever killed Parthenax? When you
So again, that comes to those things of like, why am I doing these things?
It's clearly like they don't write the story
Yeah.
of the other side well.
they came up with
like
an
the
idea.
bad decision.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like
It's just to continue to work with them, but you don't really have to. And if you don't, you can
And,
still
and,
kill.
and they
Like,
also like again, it's like the blades. Like again, if you played Oblivion, you
Yeah.
like the blades. Like the blades are the
Yeah,
good
they're
guys.
cool.
And then in Skyrim, the Grapers are like, the blades are the bad. Blades
Yeah.
are bad. Blades bad.
I said
Yeah.
this to my brother, and he's played more than me. He's played years and years.
Sure.
We sat down and talked, and I said, if I'm the guy from the Stonewall, if I'm the Dragonborn, I'm the hero of the story, why would you kick me out of your dragon? No, that's all good. Why would you kick me out of your dragon killing guild because I didn't kill Parthenax, who hasn't sided with Alduin in however many years? It's just
But he killed thousands. Again, I think they do. This
They
whole
do.
line is that I
He
think it's an ocean. I do think it is. I think they do explain these
he
things
was a
very
lieutenant.
well.
I agree, but
I don't know. I do think there's
at least
a
give me
s-
something for doing it.
Sure,
right?
sure. No, I
Yeah.
think that's what I totally agree with. I think you need to give me a reason for killing this
Yeah.
man, because once you do, you just go back to him. He's like, "Good job."
Yeah.
Walks
Thanks
away.
for coming back.
Yeah, you need to have a payoff to
Yeah.
that. But that's the thing. I think this shows of this time. They need to take it these step further with these story beats. And
Yeah.
They need to actually pay them off, because I feel like this does speak to Bethesda. The games just end. Like
Yeah.
once the quest is over, that quest doesn't really have much to do with the world anymore. And I think
That's it.
that's where the ocean does stop. I
Yeah.
agree with you. But whereas like there's just so much to do in this game. Like, and so many things to
really
explore.
is.
And,
There
and,
is.
and listen, amount doesn't necessarily guarantee that. Just because there's so much in it, that doesn't necessarily make it like this great thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Not all
I don't
quality,
know. I don't
but-
know.
speaking of so much to do, they really need. I think overall an organization, a restructuring of quest UI or quest like the quest menu. Holy shit, that thing gets overloaded, and you have no fucking idea what is what,
Yeah.
except for the little like symbols at the
Yeah.
top.
And then
next
the
to
like
title.
miscellaneous tile,
Yeah.
which gets fucked up.
And the same thing in Fallout 4. They need to get rid of that mist quest. They need to have it sort better.
Yeah.
Like main Dark Brotherhood,
Yeah.
Thieves Guild, Fighters Guild, whatever. Like they don't need a miscellaneous. Like they need it needs to not be named.
Yeah, it's funny. The
miscellaneous.
only way that they really do
Bounties.
that,
Yeah.
and above the above the quest, it has those filigrees that look different for
Yeah.
each sect.
Yeah.
So it'll be like skulls for
Right,
the Dark
right.
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So it's not as I get what you. Yeah, I would like that separate
with
section.
with all these, with the Creation Club stuff and the additional things, and like my quest log is so full.
Yeah.
100% of the time. It has been since I started the game. It's like overwhelming to open my
Yeah.
quest log and be like, where do I start?
I still remember that.
What
It was
do
that
I
way
do?
with like Witcher for me. I remember being like,
Just a
I feel
flood.
like these, especially like RPGs in general, have made me be like, finish what's on your plate and then move on. Because every time you go to a new fucking town and you haven't finished your town, ding, 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 it just
Yeah.
fills up your entire
Do
quest
everything.
log.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. It
And-
needs to be organized better.
And just talking to some of like this, like the secondary quests, the side quests that aren't faction related in Skyrim aren't really that good. I think the Nettlebane one sticks out
Yeah.
to me with the tree.
That
But,
was
like
cool.
there really aren't a ton of like good ones. Like there are and there aren't.
Noteworthy.
like
Like some,
some-
because I
some
am
of-
trying to think of some and I really
like
can't
there's
right
the
now.
one with the girl who dies in the Dwemer ruins, and then she asks you to
That's
go
right.
to the other Dwemer ruins.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty.
That's
cool.
actually the Ethereal Forge or whatever.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
that's
That's
cool.
one I didn't do until maybe my 6th playthrough.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the thing that
And you
again,
get great gear from
you
that.
get
It's
amazing
so
gear.
good.
Yeah, the Ethereal Crown or whatever. Like you can choose
the
one.
crown, the shield, or I think a staff. It's amazing.
It's just it's a bit of an everlasting gobstopper for me. I'm still even 12 years later. There's things I've gone through and found in my new playthroughs.
I mean, we've talked about
Yeah.
writing and lore, and I just think they need to like step themselves up a little bit. Look at what Witcher did with its quests and how their random side characters can be interesting, and I actually like want to talk to them and want to hear what they have to say and get all the details. And
I would agree.
obviously that's different. Geralt is Geralt. You have a person.
Yeah.
Who
You're
has a
role playing as Geralt
personality.
versus role playing as just
You.
right,
whatever
right.
you want to be.
But
Yeah.
you know, they made it work with Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 and Oblivion in even ways, even though Oblivion is pretty fucking goofy.
Janky.
I'm probably gonna play that shit when I go home.
It's good.
I
I have one more
And
memory.
I think that's it. We mentioned fast travel mounts. Yeah, that was hit all my notes. Fred, what's up?
Did you guys do? Now this is one thing where I will give it. I'll give it a two thumbs up and
Sure.
one thumbs down.
All right.
Did you guys go to the one part of the map where you go into the Dwemer ruin, you get tricked into the trap, fall into the hole? Do you guys
Yes,
remember?
I
Isn't
remember
that-
that, and it's like fucking
You-
down. You fall.
What's that place called? Blackreach?
Something
No,
like-
Blackreach. I
well,
was gonna bring up Blackreach.
Blackreach
yeah.
is that underground, but
That's
there-
my favorite meme. It's like, oh, I found a new Dwemer ruin. This is pretty cool. And I'm back in Blackreach.
Blackreach.
Okay.
That was the greatest. Like you're in the snowy mountains. You just killed a troll. You see a Dwemer thing. You walk
Yeah.
inside. You get tricked, and then you fall.
I'm trying to think.
And you
So
fall.
long.
And
It's
you
a
fall.
while. Like you're like, what the fuck?
It's so sick.
fall in the water.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
just like you're
Well,
no, as you fall.
it's it's
Literally.
amazing.
Straight as a board.
Because it reminds you of like Lord of the Rings or almost like the Deep Roads in Dragon Age.
Age.
It's like you're falling, and I feel like I'm in the guts of the world.
Yeah,
and then
now
it's
you're
like
now you got to figure out
Yeah.
how to get the fuck out of there.
then it's like there's Falmore, and then that's it, and then you're out.
So that's my question. That's another question for me. What is your least favorite type of dungeon? Because I think it's Falmer for me. I hated those dungeons so much. Dwemer Ruins kind of got annoying
Dwemer
sometimes
ruins do get old. I think they needed a little bit more fleshing out. That is one thing. Like I am kind of excited to like hit the content I haven't hit yet. Like I've started Dawnguard a little bit. That's what I was doing literally
Dawnguard's
before you guys
amazing.
got here. I haven't done Soulstein because I'm saving that. That's definitely like an epilogue DLC.
Yeah.
You can do it before you beat the game, but like that's what I'm saving it
Yeah.
for. I've only completed the companions and everything else. I've just kind of started.
Yeah.
So that I still have like a ton to do. I'm clocked at 130 some hours. I'm curious where I'm going to like how long this is going to be because I'm definitely going to get all the achievements. Obviously,
You probably got 140 more. I mean, what level are you?
51.
Yeah, you got to hit 80, or else you won't.
What's even the point?
The legendary drag.
Hang up your controller.
That's the only.
You have to hit 80 for the legendary dragon.
That's the only achievement
Yeah.
I did not get.
Because you were
in-
saying it wouldn't show up, right?
it would not show up in my game.
And
I don't remember if you either of you remember me ever.
No, I remember you
talking about-
bitching a lot about it.
Yeah, because
remember
I
you
was
being
like, I would get
can't
on
this
and I'm like,
fucking dragon.
I can't get this thing to spawn. It was
Yeah.
the only achievement I got or didn't get.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
So
you know,
Falmer's your hate.
I
your
think
big
so.
hate?
I think everything else is like not as
I
bad.
do think the Nordic ones get a little boring for me too.
Draugr.
Again, all the
so
dungeons get a
boring.
little boring.
But
they're
that's
all-
because you're going through the. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Like, I mean, once you
And
go,
hey,
that
more
is-
dungeon variety would be great.
So that's the other. That's
Yeah.
probably what I'll end it on. I would like to see a bit more dungeon variety from them. I would like to see a bit more traps that you don't see. Like I like that they have
I love
pressure
traps.
plates,
Yep.
and I have
Oh,
definitely gotten fucking
I just-
killed
I just
at
want-
terrible spots because I stepped on one and the fucking blades come up. Oh my god, I want to fucking kill myself.
I'm just,
I don't need any
thinking of
more
the
spike
of the-
walls.
Yeah.
No more
the-
spike
the
walls,
Oblivion
please.
meme.
It's just-
From the, is it the Fighters Guild quest that you go in with those guys and the guy gets on the platform?
like,
And then he comes. Sometimes he'll live and come down, and then he stands there anyway and goes
Yeah.
and dies.
No. The other guy will come
Yeah.
over and walk over.
Yeah, he
his
just walks like,
door.
"Thoosh."
Go up.
Or it's like the other guy you have to save from Oblivion,
Yeah.
and he'll fight everything and die. It's
You know,
like,
Oblivion's gimmick was Oblivion. Actually,
yeah,
yeah, it's just was.
we didn't think about
Yeah.
that, but like it's
Yeah,
just
I didn't think about that.
location.
The,
It's
well,
just
and the
location.
Oblivion gates.
yeah.
And
Right.
stuff like that.
But
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like just going to
going
Oblivion.
into Oblivion. Yeah.
Those
God,
and
Oblivion
I
games.
love Oblivion. Those have aged horribly.
I know,
They're a
they're tough.
horrible
Yeah,
mechanic.
yeah.
They're so stupid. I
And
think
they are
Oblivion
very
gates?
repeat.
Gates.
They're the same thing every time for
You-
sure.
And then if you want to have every city on your side at the fight in
So many
Bruma, you
gates.
have to do like 20 gates.
That's why I only beat the
geez.
game like
so dumb.
really 100% at it
I mean,
once.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I didn't even know you had to do that. I
Well,
can't.
it's
I can't
optional.
remember the last time I beat Oblivion.
Yeah.
I'd have to really like
It's
think about
it's
it.
worth it. It's
No,
still,
I haven't
Don't
played
you
through.
want
I'm
to
like
see
level.
Sean Bean sacrifice?
It's true.
Scene
I'm
bean.
at like level 15 right now. You
Yeah.
You level so much slower in that
Yeah.
game too, for sure. I feel like.
I think like I kind of enjoy that.
No,
'Cause it makes
I don't think
leveling
it's a bad thing. No, yeah.
rewarding. So yeah, Bethesda, if you're listening,
which I know you are.
maybe you can
Listen to us.
what's the word I'm looking for? Not glaze. You can
Skim. You can
get-
take all of our ideas here. I don't care.
right.
Take,
You
make
can
a better
take
game.
all this feedback and let it help you because I think we had some like really
So,
good conversations.
take
some
your time.
Really good points.
I would say big pictures are. I would love to see some fucking trade quests or not or like skill quests. I would
agreed.
love to see an overhaul of that skill system, which I can't imagine we won't get. But after 10, 11 years or fucking 18 years by the time we get Elder Scrolls 6, I just want a bit more immersion.
Yeah.
And
I think immersion is the underlying umbrella of everything.
Immersion
we talked
should be
about.
every RPG's main goal, being immersed.
And I think
Especially we're getting
D&D
to that
is
point where you can
quite
do it.
more
Yeah.
acceptable now than it used to be. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is really taking from the D&D systems, or the 5th edition, to build their game. And I'm not saying like Elder Scrolls needs to implement Dungeons and
skill
Dragons,
rolls and things like that.
Rolling.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't need to do that, but like look at what other games are doing that are making them more hardcore experiences.
All
and
Bethesda has to do is they just
adapt.
have to take their time, and they have.
They
as
seem to be
many
taking their
years-
time. Yeah.
They're taking their time, but what I'm saying is take whether it's 20 years, whatever. Let these be full stories.
20 years later, remember we were talking about Elder Scrolls 6 20 years ago?
Listen, write an epic. I want to sit down and I want to play an epic in the Elder Scrolls world. It's such a great world. To me, it's up there with World of Warcraft. It's up there with.
That's why it's stuck around. Yeah, it's so
it's
so
up
amazing.
there.
And think about it like this: we didn't get an Elder Scrolls on the last generation.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
We got 2 Fallout games.
Yep.
And that's it. Like we have gotten a lot.
And we're probably not going to get another full-on Fallout for another 10 years, I would say, at least.
We haven't gotten a lot from Bethesda Game Studios in general.
Take your time.
So, and with the epic disaster that was Fallout 76, Bethesda has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
But guess what?
I
They
would
have
say they've won back a
Xbox
good amount.
at their back. Phil Spencer is priming Todd Howard's shoulders like he's prepping for the Super Bowl.
Listen, I will give them credit. They stuck. At least they didn't just drop 76 and go like, all right, fuck it, we fucked up.
They
tried.
did stick with it. And as somebody who has
they literally
all
were like,
the achievements
no,
in
we're
it,
going to try and make it better. I mean, it's still not a great game as far as I can see, but I will commend them for not just dropping it like a bad habit and just saying, all right, well, fuck you guys.
I don't talk about 76 a lot, but it has improved a lot.
And that
since
wasn't
launch.
Bethesda proper that made that, right?
No, it was a bunch of different
That's
teams.
what I'm saying. So like,
a bunch.
again, I
that's
think a
what they-
lot of that
that's
hate
what they
from that
lied
is
about.
warranted.
Yeah.
But I do think for some reason it's went back and retroactively inspired some people to like really be like, Skyrim's the worst. Like we were going against before. Like it's just a piece of shit. And Bethesda was never good. Shut up. You're lying.
such
Like
a
you're
lie.
But like honestly, like if we can get Starfield even and Elder Scrolls 6 and we don't have Bethesda jank anymore because they need to get away from that. They need to get away from these.
I don't think the jank is the issue.
It's got some charm.
But no. But it's the glitchiness. It's the bad part
Bad
of the jank.
glitches are
like,
bad.
We can't talk about Skyrim anymore and be like, oh, just typical Bethesda. We need to get rid of that. They need to get rid of that vernacular from our vocabularies. They need to make it so that when we
But
talk
no one
about
was having
a Bethesda,
this conversation before seven. Like again, I
No,
think
no,
that
no.
jank.
I totally disagree with you.
I'm sorry. It wasn't
Bethesda-
breaking into a major way at all. I felt
the
like with
Bethesda
Skyrim, I
jank
heard
conversation
issues
was
on
always there.
PlayStation, but that was never the zeitgeist of the conversation.
76 made it more like a
Apparent.
apparent and a bigger talking point because when you played on launch, it was like I couldn't even describe it.
But you also didn't, and that's the thing, you didn't have a good game to play. Like that's why I think people are willing to accept that jank when you are making such a large game and where it does give you so much.
Does
give you so much leeway. Like I'm sorry, there are certain things, like certain glitches, like what you're saying, that's unacceptable, where you literally can't get out of it. But there are certain, like, why aren't you saving a ton? Like, you should be able to go back. And again, sure,
That's true.
You can argue that shouldn't be on you and the game should work. I can't really disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I rarely run into, and again, this is my own personal take on what I've seen. I've rarely run into a game breaking bug for me in a Bethesda game. In the way of like where I literally can't go back
play
even
anymore.
an hour.
I mean,
and keep going.
Me either.
Like that's what.
Go
so
back
like,
to
but I-
Oblivion.
but
you
I-
might
but
but
find
do I
one.
think that those things like that my mannequin keeps doubling things? No,
yeah.
we should be able to fix that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and
but I agree with you.
I guess
for
I
sure.
just I do have a hard, especially with everything that's gone on with Bethesda. I have a hard time ignoring all these little things that I took for granted that didn't necessarily happen to me that happened to other people that I heard about. So I'm just taking a little bit more seriously because
And that's
again,
fair.
Bethesda has something to prove to everyone. With like Starfield.
That
this
not money
game
grubbing hacks.
needs to be what Halo Infinite needed to be, which is a perfect game. Halo Infinite was not a perfect
You're
game.
never gonna get a perfect game.
I know, but I'm shooting for like what.
Your hopes are really high. It's gonna.
They
gonna
have
crash.
to be. This is Starfield, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but
this is Bethesda Game Studios' next main entry. This game needs to be really good.
Not to get into it too.
And Elder
too
Scrolls
deep.
6 needs to be really good as well.
Sure.
People had that for Cyberpunk, and I think for a lot of people, it killed it because a lot of people played Cyberpunk on launch and found these glitches in the jank.
You can't blame CD Projekt Red for putting out The Witcher 3, a fucking perfect game, almost perfect game.
No, but you can
That
blame them
glitches.
for putting out a game that couldn't run on the last gen console.
Right, and then their next game ended up being a dumpster fire. You know what?
What was their next game?
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
Well,
yeah.
again, that's a whole nother question in the wave. I still think to this day, if they didn't release that game on last gen consoles, yeah, you would have seen the jank in these next gen stuff. But it would have been like again, I played it on Xbox One versus
But
Series X.
now the
it was completely different thing.
entire industry
is all thinking about that.
looks at that and be like, we can't.
You don't want to
do
get
what
your
they
game
did.
But
taken
again,
off
like-
the store.
Right.
Yeah,
don't
no,
wanna
you're
be
right.
that.
You're
Remember
right.
when that happened?
No, I mean, it's
that
insane.
does not happen.
It's if you write an amazing world. I'll go back to Morrowind until the day I die.
Sure.
It's an amazing world. It works. Even when it's messed up and there's a glitch and a guy is... I
You're
can't
willing
find a
to
guy.
accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll play all these games that either stutter or glitch. I'll try and make them work. I've never tried harder than with Bethesda games, like on the PC, trying to get them to work with mods and patches and whatnot. Because
And
I
so
want
that is, I've
experience.
been playing them on the Xbox consoles, which seem
Yeah.
to have the best running capabilities for
Oh,
those
yeah.
games.
Consoles
So I will
for sure.
say that
That's just been a long.
yeah, that
running
seems to
thing.
be the thing that I did not realize. So I will take, please, that's my one caveat. I will take that 1,000%. So I maybe have had the best way to
And
experience
I
these
agree.
games.
And then
So-
you don't spend $7.6 billion on Bethesda to not make your game exclusive. So we'll see if Elder Scrolls 6 is even on.
That's not going to be.
you think
I
so?
don't think it is now. I think now that they've really kind of broken that seal with Starfield,
You don't think it will be?
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be cross-gen. Or, I'm sorry,
Or
I don't think it will
cross-platform.
be cross-console. I think
Right,
it will
I
be
think it'll- I agree.
or like a PC, Xbox exclusive.
It'll be on PC and Xbox, and it
That-
will not go to Sony.
I mean,
it would just be.
yeah.
It would. Why
And
did you buy
Star
it?
right?
Yeah.
And like Paris Lily on kind
But-
of funny XCast that made like that exact point. I'm like, you're right.
What's the purpose?
But
You don't
also-
spend that money to not.
But
do
also,
that.
then they are also then leaving a shitload of money on the table. So maybe I'm wrong. Actually, I don't know. I
See,
don't know.
I would beg to differ that, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
kinda,
but Microsoft
concept.
isn't worried about. They seem to not be worried about console sales as
No.
much. They really like.
No, they're
so
not.
I could easily see them
'Cause
being
they-
because they're keeping all the Call of Duty. And
They
all
know that
on
Elder Scrolls
everything.
fans are on Xbox. They're on PC. They don't need to worry.
That's
I think
the
console wars
differentiation.
is a moot point at this point. I think
Honestly, the console wars is probably at a height right now.
you think
It's so fucking frustrating.
Between
I hate it.
Xbox and Sony, yes, I do.
I don't see it anymore.
And I
like,
think who reignited it? Sony.
yeah.
Sure. Well, my
Sony.
favorite one was
It's
when they
Sony's
said
fault.
when Xbox put out the thing of like, Happy National Video Games
Yeah.
Day. We can talk about something we all share, the X button. And then PlayStation was like, it's a cross. I'm like, no fucking person ever has called that a cross.
Yeah.
When they're like, press
like
the
when
cross,
people
press the cross
press the
button.
O button.
You
Go
fucking
fuck
liar.
yourself.
Yeah, like press the O button, press the circle.
I get accused a lot for being like an Xbox like fanboy. It's just because I see what's
You do, but you do put out the fanboy tweets sometimes. You're like,
I
you
see-
like to inflame a little bit. Don't say you don't.
This Last of Us Part 1 debacle. A lot of people are either I'm hype or like why the fuck is this being made?
Right.
And like that's a weird discussion to be having about like a remaster.
Yeah.
But I
And
also
I,
do.
I
think,
also think it's valid though, because
For sure.
$70 for a price point for a game that's been remastered twice, I think
Yeah.
is insane.
No, I agree. That we
And
can get
Sony
into a
knows
whole-
what they're
we
doing.
Could get into,
That's
we
a
could do a
whole
whole
rabbit hole,
podcast
yeah.
on remaster versus
but
remake.
guess what? They didn't do that with Skyrim.
No, but that's a remaster.
Skyrim, it was a remaster, but it was always, I think, priced occasionally. And like I know the meme of like Skyrim coming out,
Yeah.
It's on your
toaster,
fridge. Yeah.
is funny, but like it's been re-released for a reason. Because they know people will play it, and they know people will buy it, and they know people want to replay Skyrim, like I am.
But again, they're not trying to,
so
and they're also not
accepting.
trying to act like it's something it's not. Like
right, they're not like
it's
everybody
funny,
knows.
This Last of Us thing is very interesting to me because they did build it from the ground up,
But it's
right?
the same
But
game.
it's literally the same game that seems to play the same and look better. Now they're
A lot
saying
better.
it,
Yeah.
the AI,
A lot
of
better.
course, yes, it looks way better.
Apparently, the
I'm not
AI
gonna sit here and
is
say
worse.
interesting.
I've heard.
So I don't know.
It's like
some of the characters look strange though. I'm not
Tess,
I'm not a
well,
fan,
it was funny
but-
just watching the side by sides because I'm like, yeah, this looks way better, but like the old one still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
It
why?
does.
Why,
It really
why
does.
is Tess like 30 years older? I just don't get it.
No,
Even
well,
what's her name? What's the main girl?
Ellie?
well, she just
Yeah,
looks like a completely different character.
She looks she looks
She
very
looks
strange.
very different.
And
Well, I don't even think
you
she
know
looks
what's
strange.
funny?
I just think she doesn't look
remember
like a
when
character.
Demon Souls came out? This is the exact same conversation you were having when Demon Souls
listen,
came out with me.
I-
And I was like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and I think now it makes more sense because it's something that you like. With
Well, I didn't get Last of Us Part 1.
How
but
old? But how old is Demon Souls?
PlayStation 3, but
Okay. Wow,
beginning
that's
of
actually only
PlayStation
PlayStation.
3.
Okay,
Well,
that's still later than I would
here's the
expect.
thing.
And it has
actually.
not been remastered. It's
Yeah.
been locked on PS3.
here's the thing. With Demon Souls, and this is for future, if any game person's out there trying to remake something, you have to follow the artist. The original artist had an idea. He put out a look. If you go into Demon Souls and compare certain mobs and certain characters, and they're changed, you fundamentally change their purpose.
You
If
feel
they-
like you're changing. It's changing how you. I get what you mean.
It's-
I'm trying to put it in a way.
It's
I know
almost
what you
like
mean.
it's almost like
Changes the vibe.
It's the vibe, the lore. Like there's the one thing, the man eater, or like I could go on a million different things, but I think it's called the man eater, the one where you fight them both at the same time. Sorry.
Yes, it is the Man Eater.
They changed that
here
thing.
she comes. Sorry.
They played that.
No, you had me for a split second. I'm like, really? That's great.
Yeah, MGS5 crossover.
Well, they changed the way it looked, and you know what? It just, for someone who's a fan of something, I know how I want it to look, and it was made. Everyone loves it.
It's tough to get that out of your mind.
You remember it.
I want to backpedal speaking of things about how things look.
Oh,
We did not talk about the character customization for Skyrim and how
yeah.
ugly everyone looks.
grotesque! It's
And
grotesque.
I was talking about, like, I'm like, the elves don't need to look beautiful, but, like, none of them look pretty.
They all look like
Very
I'm not
beady,
talking,
slanted
I'm not
eyes,
talking
yeah.
about females. I'm talking about the dudes. The dudes,
They
the
all
elves
have
look
cheekbones like
ugly.
this. They're all like.
Everyone
like,
looks
you know,
very
It's super
ugly.
angular.
Yeah.
Did someone say that in the group chat?
Yeah.
yesterday? I felt like that was perfect. Like
Yeah, in
very.
Discord, which you can join. Description.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's one thing I would. And
That's not like a super long conversation.
I do
but,
think those
yeah.
have also,
And
unfortunately, like
that'll
character creators
improve.
in general for a
Yeah.
while, I feel like have kind of sucked. I feel like they're
Recently?
finally. No, recently now, I feel like they're like within these
Oh.
past 2 years, they've really. I feel
Faces
like
are looking very straight.
I mean,
unless they're a
it's-
beast, like
exactly
for Skyrim. Like the Khajiit look beautiful, and the
Yeah.
Argonians look cool. I'm not a furry or a
Yeah,
scaly,
no,
but I
sure.
gotta say, like
It's all right.
you look at the Khajiit,
I was a
and they look
Khajiit
cool.
first playthrough Dragon Ball.
and I
was
do think
Khajiit.
that's kind of gets back to how good we've gotten at actually
Yeah.
creating a human face in a video game. Whereas back in even 2010, there was always going to be this uncanny issue.
Ugly,
And
yeah.
11. Sorry.
11, you were always going to have to go for this kind of art design, and you know, I feel like the way their humans look is very intentional, and
Yeah.
they are like that's like they are trying
To
to go
me,
for that style.
Yeah,
But
it works for the Dark Elves, but for everything else, it kind
doesn't.
of looks
Yeah,
weird.
I agree. No, I
Yeah.
totally
The
agree.
Dark Elves look like
And-
they should.
and
be
just
and
to,
we
just to
will-
talk about Starfield, the faces in that look much more. Even in Fallout 4, they look a bit cartoonish.
Do you think our zoom in on dialogue is like appropriate now? Because like in
Is that back?
Oblivion it was,
Yeah, it really was. You were up on it.
and in Skyrim you got like real far back.
Well, Skyrim, I did like that idea of they're still doing the shit they're doing while they're like when you're talking to someone and they're kind
yeah,
of
not
See,
the,
I don't like that at all.
Really?
Because if the guy's sitting, now I gotta act it out. If the guy's sitting on the wheel, hey, how's it going? I'm just working on the
It
wheel.
is true because you just fucking. See,
I'm working on some more.
so you should actually, they should take that a step
I-
further than to take it. He should sit at the anvil still, but stop grinding so he doesn't cut his hand while he's
I
talking
think
to you.
These are all things where like just these small little things will make you feel more like okay, he's not
they
working on a gun while
Immerse
he's
you.
talking to me.
Yeah. They do. They bring you back into the world.
I think New Vegas had it like what was his name? Joshua Graham. You sit there and you talk to him. He's still going like this. Like
yeah,
I get that-
cleaning all those pistols.
I
But
guess-
that's like in character for him.
It's cool. And, like him being a soldier and whatever, like I get it, but like he's sitting there going like this and talking
It's very
to me
robotic.
about Bible verses. Like how are you
I
doing all
think
this?
the way they make that better is to make it more. What's the word I'm looking for? specific to each certain. Like you gotta like
Tailor-made.
I said, that guy's sitting there. He is grinding. Oh, I can't grind and talk to you. I'm gonna stop grinding and I'm gonna sit here and talk to you. But as soon as I walk away, like it has to be more situationally specific. And to make it, again, more immersive, to make you feel like this person is alive in this world.
The only problem that comes up with the only problem that makes is like they'll be doing the forge and then you talk to them and you have to wait until they step away from the forge.
Yeah, it's true.
That
This person's
sucks.
busy, so it's exactly why can't they still forge while I'm still talking? Yeah.
It's like the same thing. It's like they have to step away from the forge, but that's a whole
And I
nother
do
thing.
think that again shows its age a little.
Yeah.
Like they can't
It
even
really
think it.
does.
Yeah. So I don't know. Gooch, was there anything else on that big old bastard of a list of yours?
No, that was the. I didn't have the character customization on there. I just
No,
thought
it was
of
good.
'cause
Good call.
I think did I bring it up yesterday in the Discord?
You might
I've been
have,
like,
yeah.
Everyone's fucking ugly in this game.
Did anyone in the Discord bring up anything? Like, did you ask anybody?
I
or
didn't.
were
I
you
didn't
going-
ask anything with this because I
We got a
knew.
lot
I
going
knew
on.
we would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
this
yeah.
long. Yeah. But
Guys.
I think we covered a lot of great points. This was
Yeah.
a fucking awesome
No, I
conversation.
gotta say, I
This
was
is
not.
exactly how I wanted.
I
it
didn't
to
know
go.
what to expect on this conversation because I haven't played Skyrim in a bit, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll do a Skyrim
Yeah.
podcast. But no, this ended up being
It's
very
so-
good. It was nice
yeah.
to talk about it and kind of reminisce.
Yeah, we all. I think we're like equally as passionate and
Yeah.
knowledgeable
For sure.
about it, and that's
As much
that's
hate
why I
as it
wanted to
gets,
do it.
as much hate as it seems that at least me and Gooch might have put out, I still love it. And
I really
could-
don't think you guys were that hateful, even to be
I
honest.
mean,
I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
if
I
think
always
you guys,
think
no, you guys
negative.
brought up some genuine points. I
Yeah.
guess there were just certain things where I was like, I did
It's
feel like it worked
they're
in that way
critiques.
for me,
It's,
but
it's not
Yeah.
hate. I mean, the game's
absolutely
aged
not.
10 years.
11 almost now, yeah.
Yeah, you know, approaching 11. Like, if we were having this conversation 11 years ago, it would be quite different.
I agree.
We would not have had Witcher 3 or other games
No,
to
it's
compare
true.
it to.
It's very
you know?
true.
We probably would have been talking about how revolutionary
You're
the
playing-
Skyrim
No, you're
combat
absolutely
is,
right. Yeah.
playing
which
a
it's
relic.
not.
Yeah, you're essentially playing an old relic.
I would love to go back and see what like reviewers were putting in about the combat back then, like to see if they were like, "This is great," or they were just like, "It's floaty."
We did that on the re3 with
Yeah.
Halo.
That's
that
true.
was so
I might
interesting.
have to look into that.
No,
Actually.
I'd
That's
be
a very
curious to see. Like,
interesting point.
I would love to go back and look at what
Yeah.
those reviews say. But gentlemen, folks at home, guys, thank you all so much for watching live with us on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We very much appreciate you. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. You can leave us a review on any of your podcast services too. That really helps us. Only 5 stars, please. No, I'm kidding. Leave a 1 star if you want. Honestly, let us know what we're doing wrong that you would like us to improve.
Don't say that.
If you want to leave a 1-star comment, you fucking email us and you tell me why.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes, that's
Comfortable
prerequisite. If you
before-
leave
before
if you
you
leave
put
1
that in
star,
there.
Yeah.
you have
Bring
to
the
email
1
us.
star here.
At
Let me see it.
DelcoNerds@gmail.com.
You have to Gmail us at delconerds@gmail.com with
Yeah.
all your comments, questions, or concerns. But also, give us your full thoughts. We do like to hear the critiques no matter what. You can find all this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. We're on all of the social medias as well, Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Discord channel, which the link will be for below this video. And
Or
that does
podcast.
it, guys. What'd you say?
All right.
Or podcast.
Or podcast, whatever you
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. For Fred, for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will
Thanks,
see
guys.
you next time. Dude, thanks for being on, man.